Our services are delivered at a world-class international standard, and our clients can tell, and that's why they continue to use us time and time again.
Started from building homes in the South and transformed into providing roof for every Filipino family. Solar Resources Incorporated's residential developments let you live in space that allows you to achieve a balanced lifestyle.
This is the newest 9-hectare residential community nestled inside an expansive master plan development of Tierra del Sol in Tanza, Cavite. Offering around-the-clock security, a playground for the kids, and leisure hubs for your relaxation and entertainment. This residential community is located between Tanza and 13 Martires, Cavite. It's only 4.3 kilometers away from SM City 13, Tower Mall 13, and Public Market. It is accessible via Manila, via Cavitex, and upcoming developments such as Cavite-Laguna Expressway and construction of the LRT-1 extension.
My name is Anne Evangelista, and today you're going to meet your ideal home in the suburbs, your new living with Solar Resources. This prime community offers exclusivity, a respite haven, and an all-day breeze and fresh air. This newest and gated community in the South offers you outdoor facilities such as this swimming pool for kids and adults, a basketball court, a playground, and there will be also a jogging lane around the development. For recreational activities and family gatherings, Las Brisas has its very own air-conditioned and enclosed clubhouse. Take a look. Today we'll show you a 3-bedroom unit at Las Brisas, 112 square meters gross floor area. The Lia house is ideal for early nesters, growing families, or young professionals. This home is a single attached 2-story home fitted with 2 bedrooms, master suite, balcony, carport, service area, dining, and living area. As we go in, you will notice that we have a fence here. Now, this countryside gate is for your inspiration only. For improvements such as this fence, you may visit our Facebook page, Solar Resources. And now we are here on the carport area, which you can fit your SUV or your sedan. Now, notice that it is also covered. Now, your car is protected from all types of weather. As we walk forward, you will find your lawn and your service area. Now, you can set this up as your mini garden and put an outdoor lounge or a mini playground for your kids. And in here is your service area. You also have an access door to your kitchen. Now, this extra spaces is only available for corner units only. Zelia's regular or inner units also has a carport area. You open the door, you will be greeted by this living spaces. Conversations can freely flow up to the dining area and your open kitchen. Imagine having to wind down here on your living area after a long day at work or hang out with your kids on weekend and watch your favorite series. Adjoining to this living room is designed to be your den. Now this is an extra room and you can transform it whatever you prefer. Now there's also a toilet and bath inside. Take a look. Designed to cherish every moment of your family, what's so nice about this house is its limit unnecessary boundaries like the walls to part the house. Like this open kitchen. I love cooking for my family and friends, so having an open kitchen like this gives me the freedom to innovate and renovate. And let's not forget this wall-sized length mirror that does the trick. And by the way, from the kitchen area, you have an access door to your service area so you won't have to go to your main door. Now it's time to check what's upstairs. By the way, the architectural design of this house is modern contemporary. Notice the high ceiling where you can decor your timeless chandelier pieces or lightings like this. This vertical window gives you a natural light during the day and a peaceful view of the community during the night. Also, your walls, you can transform it into your artwork or place some family portrait of your choice. Upon second floor landing, you will be greeted by this hall that leads you to the two bedrooms with shared toilet and bath. Now we go over with your bedroom number one that can be your kids' bedroom. With this window and peaceful view of the community. And now we go over to your bedroom number two, which is the same size with your bedroom number one. And finally, we are now in the master's bedroom. I love that there is enough space in here where you can have your queen size bed and install your entertainment system on the side. The balcony has this big sliding glass door for when you want to feel the breeze outside and spoil yourself with natural light and ventilation. Feel free to open this door. New living means having that extra space, and having a balcony is a luxury. For when you want to relax, you can set up an outdoor lounge and decor it with some plants for that green living experience. You may also do your yoga here, your meditation, or your workout session. There's so much you can do when you have a home like this. Over the balcony, my favorite part so far, you can bring in some plants because of the natural light that comes in. I love plants, so if I would live here, I would bring in all my plants in here to complete the suburban living experience. Solar Resources Incorporated is committed to offering you your ideal home that makes valuable investment and that great suburban experience. Retreat to this southern residence and make your move into something new. Start new living with Solar Resources.
And there you have it. Of course, that was Let's Read This. Pause the video that's playing right now. There you go. Much better. Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. And of course, I'm JC Barron. I'd just like to introduce to you myself to everyone who are here with us right now. This is Real Estate Expo Manila Day 2 conference. And we're very happy that you are all here with us, joining us, of course, on this wonderful event. And definitely, in a little while, we'll be meeting all our featured speakers in just a while. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about the day 2, of course, of our conference. This is of course, the day 2 of Real Estate Expo Manila 2021, brought to you by Ad Asia Events. And the event itself for today is what has changed the landscape of residential and commercial real estate in this past year. So this will be a topic for the day 2 of the conference of Real Estate Expo Manila. In a little while, we'll be introducing to you all our speakers, and they'll be sharing their knowledge and their expertise, of course, with regards to the topic that I just mentioned. And then again, we'd like to invite each and every one to please throw in the questions that you may have after each speakers. We will be having some Q&A together with our, of course, moderators, Mr. Lauren Ziller, and of course, Mr. Sylvester Wong will be joining us as well to facilitate, of course, the Q&A after each speaker. So then again, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, again, welcome to the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 Day 2 conference. What has changed the landscape of residential and commercial real estate in this past year? Let me introduce to you our speaker for the day 2, for the first speaker for the day 2 for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021, a highly experienced global executive with over 30 years of multi-industry corporate experience. He is the country head of JL Philippines Incorporated, and he has held senior leadership roles in various multinational companies in a range of sectors, including logistics, supply chain, telecommunications, and risk consulting, where he spearheaded projects related to the establishments of new offices, mergers, and acquisitions. He was the chief operating officer of JL Russia and former CIS countries, and has been foregoing ventures for JL since 2009, bringing a wealth of experience to JL's Philippine operations. Originally from France, he has worked extensively in multinationals across Western and Eastern Europe, Pakistan, Middle East, and Africa, with his multicultural management experience. And he is particularly accomplished in growth and development strategies and efficiency improvement. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome right now our first speaker for the Day 2 conference of Real Estate Expo Manila 2021, Mr. Christopher Vichik.
Thank you very much. Long introduction. Let me share my screen briefly, if I may. Can you see my screen?
Not yet, sir.
Okay, then gonna need to. There you go.
There it is. There you go. We can see it now.
Excellent. Which means, thanks for the introduction. Welcome to everyone. Very excited to be the speaker on Day 2. And as indicated, I will cover briefly what has changed the landscape of resi and commercial real estate in the past year, and also a little bit of forward thinking. I will cover 4 briefly topics. One is work from home, resi, office transaction drivers, and I will end up with sustainability. Between what has changed, and I cannot move my slides, which is a bit of a problem. Okay, thank you. Which means work from home definitely has reshaped the real estate landscape. There's no doubt that the pandemic has created such a change in the way we work that the work from home has taken the whole new dimension. And it is very clear that it has to be taken into consideration when we speak about the real estate. Can I have the next slide, please? Some stats. GLL has conducted a research among 3,300 employees, and the latest one is dated March of this year. What we have seen with our previous year survey, which was conducted around June last year, only 37% of the workforce now feels more productive at home than in the office. We had almost 50% last year. And this is really the shift from having spent more than 15 months in a pandemic. However, while 88% of the respondents still want to choose their working hours, a third do not want to work from home at all, which is quite interesting. Next slide, please. What is the impact on the employees? There is clearly an increasing miss office life. All the respondents to a certain amount of percentage, and you see here, 69% of people highly satisfied with the office environment, strongly miss the office. This is to be correlated with the fact that if previously an employee did not feel comfortable in the office, only 5% of this employee are now fully satisfied with the usual office environment. And I will come back to that statistic later. So 63% of the workforce want to keep the possibility to alternate between different places of work in the future. This is not only work from home, it's work from anywhere. 61% of the workforce are craving real human interaction with colleagues. And I think this will never disappear. What will change is the structure of our office setup. Next slide, please. Future of work. Definitely the statistic, the fact that the work from home becoming a bit more tedious and difficult to cope with. There is a clear focus from the employee on purpose-led office. And this is really important that previously employees who have been satisfied with the office setup wants obviously to come back to the office. But if your office environment did not satisfy you, you most likely will not want to be back in the office. Which means for future of work, two clear factors that will define the purpose-led offices. One is human first imperative. It will have to cater for a human-centered, healthy, and well-being environment. There's no other way. The pandemic has accelerated, if not created, a new demand for office space. Yes, the employee will want to come back to the office. The office environment will have to change if the previous office setup did not satisfy the employee. And it will have a flight to quality. And this is really where every company will have to deliver and meet the expectation of the approach to work, the workforce, and the workplace of the employee willing to return to office. A lot of impact on future design of office and on the green sustainable office. Next, please. Briefly on residential, what's interesting, we have plenty of statistics, but the work from home obviously has a direct impact on the residential market. However, the biggest impact, we've seen 11% vacancy on halfway home condominium, compared to an overall 6% vacancy in nearby condominium in the same neighborhood. In other words, the fact that less people coming to work,
Gmail na ako. Ito na, bagong link.
Less people wanted to spend time going to the office, they don't need to stay in place near the office. You see the different statistics for different CBD and cities, but really 11% for halfway home, 6% average. We feel that the residential sector has fared very well during the pandemic. because there is also an element of saving more, and some of this saving are going to purchasing of residential condo. Next, please. Office. Very interesting. The office drivers, and I will cover the logistic and distribution e-commerce as one of the new driver of office demand. Next. What we see here is the office transaction, and the share of new letting has really surged year on year. If you compare from first of a half year last year, 2020, the new letting was 25% of the total new transaction, 23% for expansion and 52% for renewal. This has shifted completely today to 87% of new letting versus collapse on expansion and renewal. You could say there is an element of phasing, that a lot of renewal were done in the first half of last year. But what's really interesting to see that the office leasing transaction has regained some colors, and I will talk about the sectors. Next, please. Then we talked about BPO, offshoring and outsourcing. There is a clear regain of new letting from the BPO sector in general, offshoring. Last year, we had 63% of the new letting came from traditional office, law firm, finance, telecom, etc., and only 36% from the BPO sector. This has shifted by 10% this year, first 6 months, where the BPO is almost 50% of new letting. Then traditional office almost decreased by half from last year. And then obviously a current topic for everyone, the flexible workspace or work from anywhere, which has gained substantial traction the last 12 months. Next, please. Then the office inquiries, and this is not necessarily transaction, is requests for office space. If we take last year versus this year, we have also some drivers that are completely shifting. You had last year a kind of almost 40% in terms of renewal, 25% new letting, and 31% in expansion. What you have today is 46% in new letting and 44% in renewal. Again, what's good to see that the office inquiry in terms of new letting is increasing, and this means new space being taken. Next, please. Now the newcomer on the scene, the back office for logistic, distribution, and e-commerce. As you all know, the e-commerce has jumped tremendously, but it has also an impact on the office inquiry. Every time a transaction is made, you need data center to process the transaction. You need people to follow up on the orders, the deliveries, the calls, the customer service, etc. Which means the whole back office behind logistic, distribution, and e-commerce has created a new office segment, which is very good because this has potentially absorbed some of the POGO's vacancy and also some wait and see attitude from some of the big tenants. Between from last year to this year, last year there was no office space new letting inquiry for logistic and distribution. We have the first 6 months of this year, 35%. Completely new, nothing from last year. Then we have the corporate logistic and distribution, which was more the head office last year, disappeared this year. And then you still have some other corporate which are asking for new letting inquiries. Next, please. Sustainability, big topic, and we, GLL, are a very big proponent of sustainable real estate. We have pledged our own target for net zero carbon by 2030. But in terms of the wider market, in the Philippines, we have a green, you see on the graph, green building, non-green building, and the rent premium differential. And as you can see by the major CBDs, Makati, we have a 17% rent differential between green and non-green building, 10% in Montelupa, 4% in Pasig, and 2% in Taguig. On average, for Metro Manila, we see a 9% rent differential between a green and non-green building. And in our survey in Asia Pacific, 70% of the tenants, corporate tenants in Asia Pacific, are willing to pay premium rental if the building has some form of sustainable certification. We are ourselves just been pre-certified WELL, which is a well-being certification for employees. This is quite interesting because we will have more and more inquiries for green building, especially for the big corporate, international and domestic, who will not want to have some of their offices in a non-green building. So a strong message to future construction and existing, and potentially for some clear shift in terms of sustainable construction of new green building. Next. Very summarized description of what has changed. And as a summary, I would say for us in GLL, the two main drivers, work from home being a driver, but being slightly realigned, readapted, is e-commerce, logistic distribution, and this is a direct impact of the pandemic, and also the whole sustainable green environment, which become top of every real estate decision maker agenda, either internally by the corporate office or by the market itself, who is strongly advocating, including with the government, a definitely sustainable real estate in the Philippines. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you so much. Of course, Mr. Christopher Vichik, for that wonderful presentation. Thank you. And still here at the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 Day 2 Conference. Now, at this point, of course, we are actually just having a little technical problem with Sir Andy's presentation, I think, but he'll be joining us in just a little while. In the meantime, I think we are going to move on with our next speaker first before we continue with a Q&A with Sir Christopher Vichik, and together with our moderators, Sir Lawrence and, of course, Sir Sylvester. In the meantime, I'd like to introduce to you right now our next speaker. We'll be jumping in to the next one. Of course, she will be discussing the topic real estate and beyond, the rise of a new breed of homeowners. She is the managing director of BizGator Consultant Incorporated. She is a licensed real estate broker, estate blogger, host, and corporate trainer. And she's a strong advocate of women empowerment, environmental protection, and education, as making her one of the youngest female instructors at the Philippine Public Safety College. She is one of the co-hosts of a program called Focus Philippines, which showcases Filipino and foreign business leaders with their struggles in their relative industries. She serves as a director for real estate of BizGator Consultants Incorporated, a company focused on mergers and acquisitions of leisure, tourism, and F&B businesses all over the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you right now our next speaker. Let's welcome, of course, Miss Ivy Breen Calderon. Hi, Miss Ivy. I think you're still on mute. We can't hear you, unfortunately. There you go. You can check your microphone, please? Unfortunately, we can't hear you still. There you go. I'm hearing some sounds already. Can you say something? Hello? Oh, um, there. We're not still hearing anything from your end. There you go. If you can just check your one more, please. Miss Ivy, there you go. Yeah, no, not yet. We can't hear you still, unfortunately. So sorry. All right. Maybe let's just try to fix your microphone in a bit. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, while we're, of course, attending to that, we just like to acknowledge some of our friends who are here with us, of course, and of course, our sponsors who made this happen as well. The Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 would like to acknowledge, of course, our event partner, Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, ICFG, Prevail, of course. Our bronze sponsors, Rehab Group of Companies, My Hometown, Rehab Valuation and Advisory Services Incorporated, BGC Hostel and Dorm, Garbs Boutique Hotel, Tronics Master Incorporated, Federal Land Incorporated, Solar Resources Incorporated, Prime World Land Holdings Incorporated, Spaces, and Red Juice and HQ by IWG. And of course, our media partners, thank you so much to our media partners, Business Mirror, Loving What You Do, LWYD, Mindworks Entertainment Incorporated, Local City Guide, and definitely I'd like to acknowledge as well our speakers from the Day One conference yesterday, Mr. Lawrence Ziller, Managing Director of ICFG, Mr. Kenneth Stern, CEO of Lamudi Philippines, Mr. Carl D., President of Spectrum Investments, Architect Romulo Nati, Chairman and CEO of Talpinas Development Corporation, Dr. Mary Gauso, President of Freehub Group of Companies, Ms. Rebecca Roque, Presenter for Federal Land Incorporated, Property Consultant Stars Division, Federal Land Incorporated, and Mr. Ramon Abiera, UAP Committee Chair for Sustainability Innovation of ICFG. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I suppose we're all set and ready once again with our next speaker, Miss Ivy. I hope she can join us already.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear your voice now.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So again, ladies and gentlemen, let me reintroduce to you. Let's welcome back, of course, Miss Ivory Calderon. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so once again, thank you so much, Real Estate Expo Manila 2021, for having me today. I will be talking about real estate and beyond, the rise of a new breed of homeowners. So let me just take you back to 2019. Before the pandemic happened, so we had several other priorities, and Manila was like a traffic zone. You can see Manila like a huge parking lot. Like there were so many times that you will see people just walking around the city and just them just trying to find a parking spot or find a car to ride in or find a grab maybe. There are a lot of that was history. There were so many things that happened in 2019 that I can barely imagine doing in 2021. Now, before 2020 happened, Makati to BGC was like maybe an hour or maybe more than that, depending on what time you're traveling from Makati to BGC. But now Makati to BGC is like what, 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes. So that was before the pandemic, right? So that's what happened before the pandemic. But of course, I'm not going to talk about traffic and things like that, but I'm just going to take you back to before the pandemic. the growing trend before the pandemic was all about green cities and smart cities. So they were all about functionality and sustainability in homes and commercial spaces, a lifestyle balance between convenience and amusement, and protecting and cultivating a green city for the future. So there were so many green developments that just, from Luzon to Visayas to Mindanao, that was the trend before the pandemic happened. Also, there were also several connectivities being done from one city to another, from Manila to outside of Manila. You've seen that too, even in 2021. But in 2019, before the pandemic happened, that was one of the biggest projects that the government has been pushing for, which is, connecting the cities connecting the cities in and outside of Manila, and even in other major islands as well. There was also a strong overseas presence. There were more Filipinos going abroad and finding a job there, and of course, one of the trends also in terms of economy is the remittance. That's one of our income, where the income of the Philippines is coming from. In terms of customer profile, of course, we've seen that there were so many buyers. So when it comes to condominiums, there were also buyers for houses, obviously. But surprisingly, houses were still a bigger trend compared to condominiums, as you can see in this current slide that I'm showing. So in here, you will notice that the most sought after property are still apartments with 23.76%, followed by houses with 22.3%. But in general, houses were still leading the way compared to condominiums, and it was followed by land. But now we have a shift. You've heard it from Christoph, and I'm gonna speak about it again. There was like a 360-degree shift. With not only with the world, with our country, but obviously with the real estate industry. So, what were the non-negotiables during the pandemic? The first thing that we ever felt when the pandemic happened, when the pandemic hit the Philippines, was the lockdown, and the lockdown drove so many people insane, and not insane, but insane in a way that there were so many restrictions when it comes to mobility. So people kind of felt the need to reconnect with the outside world. So these are the non-negotiables. The first one is they want to feel nature's presence, because obviously, especially for people who are living in the city, all they can see are buildings and, traffic, maybe cars. So they wanted to have a feel of nature. And another thing is, of course, space, because when you're living in a building, obviously that's not what you have. You want to have more space, so that especially for families who have kids, they wanted to have more space considering the limitations in movements, or the restrictions in movements. And also another non-negotiable is the garage and the garden, because again, this is where the family spent their time, considering that more and more people cannot go out of their homes, or maybe they prefer to be home. So again, these are the non-negotiables. So if you're talking to a buyer, these are the common things that you will probably hear from them, that they want a bigger space, that they want a place where there's a garden and stuff like that. All right. So the lockdown restrictions in the Philippines, I cannot say for all the places in the Philippines, but in Manila specifically, our restrictions have already generally eased, but the people's priorities still remain the same. They still want to be safe from the virus. In fact, a lot of our friends that we personally know, or maybe people that we personally know, they prefer to be staying home instead of getting out of their homes, because they're still, even though they're vaccinated, they're still scared to catch the virus. So this preference, this thinking, this mindset obviously also change the way they want, or the way they prefer their properties to be. So they always have at the back of their minds that this are my considerations when I'm buying a property. So even though the market slowed, we've seen that, we've felt that, but the market has slowed even amidst the pandemic, but there's still a significant rise in prices outside of the major cities. And just a trivia, garage is actually the most popular keyword on property searches for 2020. That's in the UK, because there were more people spending their time in the garage, not because they want to park there, but because that's what they do to have that's what they converted into a home office, or maybe they converted into a gym or a workshop or anything that can keep them busy amidst the lockdowns and the restrictions. Okay, sorry, I think my... Okay, I think my computer's been acting funny. Okay, so let me just move it back. Okay, so why are people moving out of cities? The first one is older people are moving closer to family. I'm still there, right? Can people still hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can still hear you.
All right, thank you so much. All right. So why are people moving out of cities? The first one is older people are moving closer to family, knowing that people are getting scared of catching the virus. So they want to be closer to their families, as well as they're scared that if there's another restriction, they will not be able to travel as far as, for example, from Manila to outside of Manila, especially with those restrictions. And at the same time, the medical certificates that I have to furnish, the swab test and things like that. And another reason is younger people are looking for a good place to start a family. And most people are already working from home, as what you've seen from Christoph's presentation earlier. You've probably heard that there are a lot of people who are working from home. And now, of course, younger people are also looking for a place where they can start a family, which is obviously, it should be safe from the virus. So what's in and out for buyers during the pandemic? The first is indoor and outdoor space. You can hear that every single time when you're talking to a buyer. They want space, whether indoors and outdoors, because they're working from home. They don't want to hear each other while they're on meetings. The surge in the number of plantitas and plantitas, that's also a trend. I've never seen a trend as gigantic as the plantitas and plantitas, buying plants or selling plants, which are at least around 500 pesos maybe, and up to a maximum of millions of has cost for people to be doing all this. And the DIY home renovation. So if you're a member of Home Buddies, you probably know this by now, that there are so many hashtag Boodle finds. So this is also a thing for the buyers now. They're more into doing their own home renovations, and they want a space for that. Also, another trend is for families with children, gardens have become a priority. And another trend that has also been going on right now is acquiring second home in provinces. So because they want space, they want convenience, they don't want to be going back and forth to wherever. So they now prefer bigger houses, which is outside of Manila, but it's very convenient for all of them to be living together. Maybe families gathering again because of the pandemic. Another thing is the work from home setup. We were talking in the backstage, and we were like, people who have properties outside of Manila, they now tend to live in the properties that they bought instead of just being resort home, or maybe just a holiday home. They converted into their main residence because of the work from home setup. They want something that's closer to nature, and of course, the relaxation should be there because you're working from home and there's already the fatigue of working from home. And there's also the trend of conversion of resorts to holiday homes, just like the property that we have, very fresh property that we have in Camiguin. It's being converted now to a holiday home. So if you're interested, let me know. So this work from home thing is not for everyone. So how do we keep our sanity while working from home and babysitting? So that's what's going on with several conversations, whether with an employee or a business owner. That's a common thing that you will be hearing, the fatigue from working from home, because there seems to be no separation between work and family life, because your work is also in your home. So that's what's going on. That's why they want more space compared to before, that they can, they have a home and then they can go to work. Now your work is also at home, so they prefer more spaces. So just to give you a background or an example of what's been going on outside of Manila, this is coming from realestatenews.ph. Thank you so much, Andy. This is a reference that I'm taking. So you will see here the increase in the price per square meter. There's the 20%, 46%, and 20%. In contrast to the properties in Manila, now the prices outside of Manila are rising because more and more people are investing outside of Manila because of the previous reasons that I've mentioned in the slide. Okay, so just to have an idea of the prices, so it used to be 14,000 to 50,000 last year. Now it's 12,000 to 60,000. Can go as much as that. So actually in the backstage, we were also talking that it's now as high as 65,000 per square meter. And we are talking about Batangas. So you might want to also take a look at the provinces outside of Manila to get a feel of the increase in the price ranges. So why are people acquiring second home in provinces? Well, another reason for that, aside from the ones that I've mentioned, is that because also it's now more attractive to international tourists, because they want to invest in resort properties, because it's not only the Philippines who has lockdown restrictions. We also have, apparently, for the entire world, like people have been wanting to travel, but they can't. So now Philippines has several resorts, several properties, several beaches that they can go to, and they can even own a property. So this has also become a trend in the second home in provinces. So these are not just impulse buys driven by pandemic sentiments. They are also well-evaluated, carefully planned moves of investors with the foresight to know that these properties will remain prime long after COVID-19. All right, so the pandemic has dramatically changed almost everything, but the Philippine real estate market remains robust. And let me show you another research. The demand for residential properties located in tourist or recreational destinations such as Batangas and Lapu-Lapu have also dramatically increased, because again, it's not only Manila who's been the target of investors, it's also outside of Metro Manila. All right, so of course, there's a renewed importance on overall health and well-being, driving them to search for properties with access to multiple amenity offerings, such as master plan communities that prioritize and promote work-life balance. Because again, if you're working from home, you wouldn't want to just stay in your home. You also would like to probably take a walk in the park, or maybe just to have some fresh air. While you're taking a break from work, which is actually at home. So that's what's going on outside of Manila. So my main topic is actually about the new breed of homeowners. So who are they, and what do they want? So in order to understand what they want, you must know who they are first. So let me introduce to you two generations. You've probably met them. You probably know them. They probably annoyed you, but welcome to the generations of the new home buyers. So these are the millennials, who are called as a Gen Y, and Gen Z, who are also called Zoomers. By the way, just in case you don't know that yet, I don't know that. I didn't know that before this deck was presented. I was like, oh, okay, that's what they call them. So Zoomers and millennials. So millennials have been really infamous for their, for prioritizing leisure over investments. But there are so many studies that millennials are taking advantage of finding new and alternative investments and securing stability for their future. In fact, if you will notice, even on Facebook, you will notice that there are so many millennials who are into real estate and into insurance. That's because they are actually into new and alternative investments. So you will see a lot of millennials on Facebook who are into real estate and insurance. So you're probably one of them. You're probably in the audience. So kaway-kaway sa mga millennials. And surprisingly, millennials are the largest new wave of first-time home buyers, not only in the Philippines, but across the globe. Well, that's because millennials right now are actually aged from 25 to 35 or even more than that. So these are the people who are probably early nesters who just got married and who want to, have a home. So that's why they're mostly into the buying age So they're considered the largest wave of first-time home buyers. So that's really fun, right? But what's more exciting is that we now have Gen Z buyers. Their age is from 18 to 24 years old. So obviously, an 18-year-old cannot yet buy a property, given the legalities. But some of the Gen Zs are already in the workplace. So they are called the first digitally native generation. So they were born in a generation. I mean, they were born in a time where there's no more typewriters, there are no more telegraphs. All they know is the touchscreen phones. Okay, so they're generally digitally native. They're also keen on product evaluation. So Gen Z do not buy products without first checking the product evaluation. But they're also price conscious compared to their millennial counterparts. Gen Z is kind of like the Gen X. They're digitally native, but they're also all about the end-to-end buying process. So they're really keen on speed because they were born in a genre where touchscreen is a thing, and everything is just with a click, which is just one click away. So they were born in that era. So they're obviously keen on speed and also with customer service, which is in contrast with millennials, because millennials and Gen Z, their commonality is actually they're both into the end-to-end buying process, but they're also into doing their research online. But Gen Z prefers to buy offline. So that's the difference between the Gen Z and the millennials, because Gen Z know that they cannot give their data online, and they cannot just disclose anything online because they were already born in a genre where hacking is a common thing. So that's why they are more of a Gen X than a millennial when it comes to the buying journey. So I hope I was able to differentiate the millennials and the Gen Z. So if you're a Gen Z as well, hi, hi there, hi from the Gen Z in the audience. So we now have millennials and Gen Z in our new generation of home buyers. And that would be all from my end. Once again, I'm Irene Calderon. You can call me Ice. Those are my information right there. And thank you so much. And hope to see you around in the real estate scene. Thank you
so much again, Miss Ivy Reen. Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. Very detailed, very informative. And I suppose most of our audience participants who are here with us right now are actually so many have questions for you. But definitely they have to hang on tight for that, because after our third speaker, we'll be moving on with the Q&A with the three of our first three speakers who did presented, of course, on the day 2 of our conference. So thank you again, Ms. Ivorine. Now we're moving on with the next one. Okay, so at this point, of course, join us as he discusses the topic real estate challenges and opportunities in the new normal. Our next speaker is a realtor, Certified International Property Specialist, or CIPS, and has been a licensed real estate broker for 31 years. Also, he is the operating principal of Keller Williams Manila Bay Market Center, the VP for Housing of the Chamber of Real Estate Builders and Associations, or CREBA, the Vice Chairman of IRM Council of CREBA NER, International Member of Federation Internacional de Administradores de Bien Conselis Immobilier, or FIABC. I hope I said that correctly. The former Senior Vice President of Century Properties Incorporated, and lastly, three-term Chairman and three-term President of the National Estate Association, or NREA. He was awarded by PhilRes as an outstanding practitioner, awarded by the Gawad Sulunang Bayan as an outstanding broker, and a trainer of champions through his Sharks training program. He has accomplished many things, such as a writer, columnist on several real estate and investment magazines and platforms, former host in a real estate talk show on radio, active member and committee co-chairperson of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, founding partner of Filipino Homes, and consultant to several developers for sales and marketing. Of course, let me introduce to you our speaker, third speaker for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 Day 2 Conference. Let's welcome right now the chairman and co-founder of Habitas Developments, Mr. Alejandro Manala. Sir, Andy? There you go, Sir Andy. And we can hear you already.
Hello.
Hi, Sir
Hi.
Andy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. You may go right ahead with your presentation there.
Yes, good. Thank you. Can I request some?
We can already see on the screen your presentation, Real Estate Challenges and Opportunities in the New Normal. And I suppose we're having a little technical difficulty with our friend Sir Andy, of course, with regards to his connection. So maybe he'll be joining us again in just a bit. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, let me once again acknowledge some of our partners and friends who help us out in making this event possible. Special thanks, of course, to our event partners: Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, ICFG, Prevail, bronze sponsors, Rehab Group of Companies, My Hometown Rehab Valuation and Advisory Services Incorporated, BGC Hostel and Dorm, Garb's Boutique Hotel, Tronics Master Incorporated, Federal Land Incorporated, Solar Resources Incorporated, Prime World Land Holdings Incorporated, Spaces, Red Juice, and HQ by IWG. Our media partners, thank you so much to Business Mirror, loving what you do, LWYD, Mindworks Entertainment Incorporated, Local City Guy. And of course, again, thank you so much to all our speakers on the first day of our conference. Mr. Lauren Ziller, Managing Director of ICFG, Mr. Kenneth Stern, CEO of Lamudi Philippines, Mr. Carl D., President of Spectrum Investments, Architect Romulo Nati, Chairman and CEO of Italpinas Development Corporation, Dr. Mary Galso, President of Rehab Group of Companies, and of course, presenter for Federal Land Incorporated Property Consultant Stars Division, Federal Land Incorporated, Ms. Rebecca Roque, and UAP Committee Chair for Sustainability and Innovation, ICFG, Mr. Ramon Abiera. All right, so at this point, I suppose Mr. Andy is back with us already. Okay, let's check if he's already in the room with us. There you go. I suppose he's not yet in still. Okay, I suppose we can move on to our next speaker for this afternoon. All right, so let's reintroduce and we'll welcome back later on Sir Andy. In the meantime, let's move on with the next speaker that is scheduled for the day 2 of our conference. Okay, let's meet our speaker for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 conference. Of course, he is the AVP of KMC Group to present, of course, and he will be discussing the topic, what future for commercial real estate. The managing director of KMC Group in the Philippines and also manages the commercial real estate brokerage team on handling major tenant representation assignments, whereas he has built relationships on assisting foreign clients with government agencies such as the Philippine Economic Zone Authority or PEZA and the Board of Investments or BOI. Michael McCullough is also the founder of KMC Solutions, which is a service provider and incubator to some of the largest multinational business process outsourcing BPO companies located in the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome right now our next speaker, of course, AVP of KMC Group to present. Let's welcome Mr. Michael McCullough. Sir?
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm dialing in from the hotel here in Boracay. Wow, I'm getting a lot of love here. Thank you so
know,
much.
and you have a very, very nice background behind
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
as well for sharing that with us. We miss the beach, so we hope you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah, no, it's an important part of living a nice, balanced work-life combination there. So
There you go. So go ahead, sir, please.
I am dealing with the lovely internet situation here in Boracay. Not so great. And I will upload share the screen. Tab. Okay, it does look like it's sharing. We'll go into
Yes, we can
presentation
see
mode
your
here.
screen right now.
Perfect. Just in the nick of time. Sorry for the background noises. My room is not yet ready, but dealing with what I can here. So I'm just going to talk very quickly about the hybrid office and kind of the future of workspace here. And that does load. I am getting some background noise there. Is that from someone else? Like I'm hearing somebody's keyboards click.
Hello? Ibang laptop na tong gamit ko.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, ay. Nakita mo yung video na pinadala ko?
All right, I think we can hear also Sir Andy. Sir Andy, if you can please mute your microphone for the meantime. Thank you so much. All right, so Sir Mike, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I am patiently waiting here for the presentation to get started here.
All right, so
Let me refresh
I think
this.
our friend Justine can move on, and yes, that's correct, with the next slide. Here we go.
Are we changing speakers?
No, no, sir. It's you still, Mr. Michael, and you can continue because
Okay.
I think your presentation
Okay.
goes on the first slide now.
Okay, I'm on board. Great. So what we're looking at today is we're seeing a shift in office demand. I think we all know that flex is here to stay. The flexible working environment is here to stay. But remote work does pose some challenges. Difficult working conditions, managing the routine, finding motivation, and then being able to relax and switch off. Those are all real difficulties many of us are facing. The relaxing and switching off is incredibly important to us and our organization. We've noticed a lot of people have additional anxiety from working, particularly remotely. So we brought in some tools that help with mental health and well-being. It's a company called Mind You. Feel free to check them out. But they've done really good things, and roughly 45% of our staff are using this tool to deal with challenges. Oh, did it go? Where'd it go? The hybrid work of the future, it's all about the employee experience. And that's the real change of office space moving forward. So there's going to be an acceleration for the demand of hybrid working, and that's going to be in a home, in a hub, in an HQ like it is today, or potentially even in a hotel like where I'm working out of today as well. So given all that background noise. This is actually good for a couple of reasons. One, you can save money both as a company as an employee. You're no longer paying that very expensive transportation cost. It's more environmentally friendly. You can reduce the amount of office space that you consume, which does reduce the electricity consumption and which commits CO2 into the atmosphere. But it also allows employees to live a more flexible, have a more flexible life. And that's why I think it's all about the employee experience, offering flexibility of where they work, when they work, which office they want to come into, which team they, maybe meet up and collaborate with. And that's where we really see the need for spaces for collaboration. That is really kind of the whole reason to have an office, is to collaborate with your colleagues. Is this loading? Oh, someone else is sharing this. Thank you so much. Co-working and virtual office. So this is having a kind of impact on what we're doing. And this is where I was talking about that you've got the HQ, the hub and spoke, and the home, which is incredibly becoming a place to do work from. So the impact on our business, and we're starting to see it, really accelerate. There's a certain amount of work that needs to be done in an office, and that's typically around financial services or healthcare services, potentially banking and financial services. So the office isn't going away. It's still needed very much from now and the future. We're now starting to see the distributed workforce. Somebody will get an office in, say, Taguig, Makati, but then they also want something in the south and somewhere towards the north, particularly further north, like say Clark, or just say, SM North. The work near home, given the transportation situation, which shut down about more than a year ago, employees want to work nearer to their home. They want to commute less, given the safety around commuting is somewhat questionable. And every company wants a flexible lease arrangement. And that's incredibly important now. They're going to want to sign up for 3, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, because they don't know what the future holds. We don't know, is there more lockdowns coming? Are things going to get back to normal? I mean, we definitely hope so. So that's around flexible leasing arrangements, and then adapt to designs to the new norm. Like I said, you're going to see a lot more collaboration space, a lot less cubicles moving forward. Next. And how the shared office space will work in the new norm. Again, you're going to have more socially distanced workstations, pathways around, one-way pathways and visual cues to socially distant, or reminders to wear a mask or face shield. Less dense common areas. Some pantries have been shut down or reduced in size, or reduced in capacity. Touchless access for everything. The RFID cards are making a comeback. Medical grade cleaning procedures and UVC light sanitation. My room currently is not ready because it's being UVC treated here at the Henan Prime. Reduced capacity in meeting rooms and within the workspace. So that's how you're going to see shared offices changing in the new normal. Next. Flexible workspaces. So they've really enabled businesses to operate and retain important personnel throughout this pandemic by allowing companies to take leases in a short-term plug and play basis, get up and running immediately in locations that they're not currently in. remote working has allowed employees to work in places, outside of not just their own office, but in their homes or in hubs. And businesses are slowly starting to open up and get their employees back to an office, which will keep the industry vacancy rates healthy. We think it will probably peak at around 15% and come quickly back down to kind of 10 to 12% moving forward. Next. And maybe is that the end slide? Yeah, that's the end. So I'm good.
There you go. Thank you so much, Sir
Happy to take,
Michael.
I'm not sure if there's questions.
Thank you so much. Yes, we'll
Thank
be having.
you so much
we'll
for
be
having me.
entertaining some questions. That's right. We'll be entertaining some questions a little later, and I hope you can join us still a little later for the Q&A portion. All right. Thank you, Mr. Michael McCullough, for that wonderful presentation for everybody here in the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 Day 2. Now, at this point, I suppose our friend Sir Andy is all good and with us already, so he can do his presentation as well. So I'd like to introduce, of course, once again, Sir Andy, of course, our friend and next speaker, who will be discussing, of course, real estate challenges and opportunities in the new normal, Sir Alejandro Manala. Sir? Sir Andy?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Sir Andy.
I can hear you, but I could share my screen. I couldn't
No
join the
problem,
panel.
sir.
I don't have the join panel button still.
No problem with with your presentation, sir. We can actually play it for you.
Okay.
All
So
right.
I'll just share. Okay, good. Good afternoon, everyone, or good day if we have some listeners from other or viewers from other countries. Good day, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share with you the real estate challenges and opportunities in the new normal as what was assigned to me. And we had some very good speakers, very informative talks earlier about the future of office spaces and also the new trends. So this one, I will be focusing now on the residential real estate. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, since last year, about November, December of last year, when I was giving talks, November, December, January, February, I was talking about the shift that's going to happen in the real estate market, specifically in the residential area. Not because of COVID. Nobody knew about COVID then, but we were just at that point where we are supposed to have the shift already. Okay, so but the good thing is that for the past 20 years, or even for the past 30 years, I've been in the business for the past 32 years. No matter how it goes up and down, and no matter who the administration is, no matter whether there was a continuity in the programs or each president doesn't like the other one, we have been able to grow consistently. Now, the good thing about that is that, next slide, please. We are quite used to this crisis, and each crisis provide an opportunity for the investors. I borrowed this slide from David Lichu, and it's because I like it because it's a proof that we have grown amidst historical events, regardless of who the president is, what kind of administration we have. Because of the strength of the fundamentals, we have very, very strong economic fundamentals, and we were just, maybe you can quote, maybe you can say, fortunate that this crisis hit us when we were at our strongest. It's just like your COVID hitting you when you're very healthy. Unlike if you have comorbidities, then that's going to be very dangerous. So we have survived this. So whatever we're experiencing now is temporary, and we can overcome this. Next, please. The most important thing to realize now is that while there are many factors or there are many drivers affecting real estate, there are three major drivers in real estate, which I'll be showing you, and you will be the one to answer if it changed. Next, please. For example, the three key drivers. Next, please. The key, the three key drivers of real estate, and this was reported earlier by our speakers. One would be our urban population growth. We have the most beautiful demographic profile. We have a very young working population at 24.7 years old. We have an age dependency of only about 3%, dipping into that was this in their social security, and then we have a wide base of educated people going into that workforce. So the good thing about that, and this was the same demographic profile that China and Japan and I think South Korea also had about 60 years ago. It was also at that time when this demographic profile happened, when they were also in their infrastructure, age of golden infrastructure, exactly where we are right now. So we have a big workforce. We have a big population going into this workforce, and that's going to drive demand, maybe not only for sale but also for lease. You would also notice that before the peak age of investing in real estate was about 35 to 39 years old, because of the usual mentality of you go to college, work for a company, start from the bottom, work your way up, and then when you get promoted and you can afford, then you can start investing in real estate. Now you can find buyers. There are a lot of buyers who are from 22 years old, 24 years old, already investing in real estate. There are the millennials. There are a lot of entrepreneurs within our millennials. Next is uh, the BPOs. BPOs last year we've been doing our talks last year, and every month uh, there were changes in the forecast, especially in the pogo sector. But then the BPOs has consistently grown. Even last year, even inch by inch, last year they have shown their resilience. And now, for the past quarter, they were the main demand drivers for our office spaces that were left by these POGOs. And you see, so when you have your BPOs, there will be workers who would be requiring properties to rent around these offices. Now, next would be the ever reliable. Next, please. Next slide, please. Then next would be the ever no back one slide, please. OFWs go up, go up, go up, up, back, please. Two slides back. Two slides back. Forward. One more. One more. Yeah, there. No, the OFWs. Okay. For the OFWs, we have been last year. Back, please. Last year, in January of last year, they even forecasted a 40% drop in OFW remittances. That was June of last year. Why? Because there were about 400,000 who were repatriated during that time. But Dole, uh, in the headlines, they said 40% will there will be a 40% drop in OFW remittances. If we believe that, then maybe a lot of people would have been depressed. But see what happened in July, it grew by 7.6. In September, it grew by 9.1. And by year end, the whole the remittances only dropped by about 0.08%, not even 1%, as against a 40% drop forecast. No? So, in this year, they are looking at a growth in the remittances of OFWs. So, again, the ever reliable market. And for the past year, they were the ones who have driven the demand for condominiums and other landed properties. Maybe we did not feel it here in the metro. Maybe we did not feel it here in the NCR. But the activities in the south, not only in the south of Luzon, but way out in the southern provinces, like for example, and the other cities in the south, again, the Oro, Bacolod, Davao, Cebu, the demand was really high. In fact, one of the developers there, I think I can mention, Cebu Land Masters, experienced their all-time high during the strict lockdown in April and May of 2020, when everybody was inside their homes. They booked 3.2 billion in sales. So uh, that shows you how resilient our OFW market is. Next. So I'll be sharing with you what we have observed uh, in the trends that we have observed in our real estate newspaper. By the way, if you want to be updated in your in what's happening in real estate every day, you can click on and subscribe to realestatenews.ph. So we are gathering all the news affecting real estate, and we publish it every day. We share this every day, mostly positive. Next, please. So uh, these were the challenges that were faced by from the investor side, from the investors or buyer side. One, the high vacancy rates. Of course, everybody knows about what happened to the pogos. Uh, and then with the high vacancy rates, there are the lower rental rates. Okay, but at least you'll be happy if you have somebody renting your unit. Short-term rentals, those who were really who have invested heavily in short-term rentals, which was good, which was good from 2017, 18, 19. It was practically dead in 2020. Why? Because the PMOs, the associations, the condo corps do not allow short-term leasing in their properties. Now, so a lot of people who also invested before and were expecting. Okay, uh, have I lost my connection? I'm good, Josh. Okay,
Yes, you're good, sir.
so those who invested, uh, can you go back, please? There. Okay. So those who invested uh, before, and those who invested using very low down payment, and then they depended on the rentals, hopefully providing them positive cash flow during those times, and lost their tenants, had a difficulty in paying their monthly amortization. So that was one of the challenges. However, on the other hand, next please. Next please. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah. On the other hand, those who invested before at much lower prices, uh, please, up. Up, one more. Yes. Okay. Those who invested before at much lower prices, especially during the previous crisis, uh, were still able to afford to reduce their rental rate significantly and still generate positive cash flow. Those who, let's say, in 2008, imagine the price that they got it at 2008 compared to those who bought in 2017, 18, 19. So even if the the old investors dive their prices down, they can still be more competitive and still generate positive cash flow. Uh, those who were also conservative, and this is very important, and invested in right priced properties in areas where the market is where the buyers where the market is targeted towards that sustainable market, not the artificial demand, not the speculative buyers. Uh, they didn't have as much problem as those who bought in areas wherein the prices were too high, and the only way that you can recover that is through short-term rentals. Imagine one bedroom buying it for 8 million, 9 million. How can you rent that out? How can you recover uh, that for one bedroom using a long-term lease model? Short-term lease, yes, maybe you can do that. In some areas where it is tourist oriented, yes, maybe there's still that possibility. So another thing is that developers saw this opportunity. They shifted their target market both demographically and geographically. And for example, before this pandemic, a lot of even OFWs, a lot of them were buying into the NCR, maybe aspirational. They're buying properties here. But during this pandemic, when they realized the need for homes, and there were developers now offering options in their own hometowns, they were able to capture this one. And there are developers who invested in business applications, in systems, in technology, and they were able to capture this market through online transactions. Maybe a lot of developers before did not believe in investing in those business applications. So last year was the game of online or virtual trippings, virtual viewings, especially for the OFWs, online transactions, digital signatures, online payments. So those who had that capability were able to take advantage of that opportunity. Another thing is that properties outside NCR, while while the developers here inside NCR were diving prices, giving a lot of promos, uh, extending payment terms, properties outside NCR, specifically landed properties, have grown not only reasonably but quite significantly in some areas and in some categories. Uh, Again, specifically landed properties. Now, next. So outside in the fringes of NCR, in the outskirts, and even outside now. The three major factors that are affecting and I think will affect the real estate values in the new norm would be one, infrastructure. We, I'm sure a lot of us have been enjoying the nice roads, the long highways uh, that's that are already completed now. So infrastructure, technology. This one was not possible. This was available maybe last year, but nobody was using this. Now we appreciate this one. Technology and logistics, the combination of these three. Now you can do business from anywhere. So before the one of the main considerations of in finding your place of residence uh, would be your proximity to your place of work or schools. But now with the combination of technology and logistics and infra, people can now opt to buy more space with their peso. Before, pre-pandemic, what can you buy with 4 million or 5 million here in the metro? Maybe a 27 to 32 square meter property, but just outside that would be a nice house with some space around you, which is what uh, is preferred by people now. Space outside, not locked inside the room. Yes, a lot of projects have amenities, but again, during the pandemic, they've experienced that uh, the amenities were closed. You have a nice pool, but you have 2,000 units to share that with you. So spaces, people would now prefer spaces for themselves, social distancing. Again, uh, sad to say, we might get over this, but this will not be uh, the last crisis or pandemic. So the programming now is geared towards that possibility. So people would still now prefer to be where it is safer, uh, a healthier environment, but still near the essentials. So self-contained communities outside would be a trend in the new normal. Next, see, going out, these developers have captured this market. If you notice, Calabar zone. There are a lot of projects there in the Calabar zone and also in the north. You see, almost 18% of the OFWs work there. So before, instead of these OFWs were buying properties here in the city. But now, since there are available options now, very nice properties, very nice developments in their hometowns, in their areas, at much lower prices. The developers in these areas are now benefiting from this one. From on Calabar zone on the south, and then the central zone, which has about what 14% of the blues, and all the rest in the south. Cebu, Bacolod, Davao, Cagayan de Oro, Zamboanga, Eastern Visayas, Western Visayas. There are a lot of developments now that we don't see here. Real estate is not only in Metro Manila. Real estate is outside. So I think people should already look at investing in the other regions. You follow the trend, see where the direction of the market is going, and then be there first. Next, uh, see for right now, or for the past year, tourism was one of the hardest hit industries. But according to this, to the reports that we've read, tourism, it will bounce back strong. It will bounce back strong. And personal opinion, I think the the resorts, the projects, the properties, vacation rentals outside the metro would be enjoying very brisk occupancy. So, based on this record, foreign and domestic and foreign tourists are in Region 4A, which is also the Calabar zone carried by Batangas, and Region 7, which is in Cebu. And those areas will be benefiting if you have projects there which are also tourist oriented. Then that would be a good uh, option for your investment. Next. Next, again, for domestic tourist arrivals, very consistent. Region 4A has been very consistent. Calabar zone, places where it is easier to reach by land. People would like to go out by land in their private vehicles. There's For the past few months we've been quite scared of being inside enclosed spaces with a lot of people. Somehow we have developed maybe that fear, and it will take a few months maybe to adjust again and be comfortable inside enclosed spaces. Next, now if there were challenges and opportunities from the buyer side, there are also a lot of challenges and opportunities that the practitioners. I know we have a lot of practitioners here in the audience, and these were the challenges that they have faced. And I know some of my networks, some of my agents also have encountered this. So the challenges, of course, the virus, the fear of going out, the restricted movements. We could not go for viewing. Both the agents and the buyers fear going out. The homeowners associations and the PMOs do not allow viewings. They've restricted access to their properties. Banks, government agencies, especially in the first few months of the lockdown, were closed and cannot even consummate transactions. It was very difficult. Uh, and for some, okay, this is out of the pandemic, but for some, they think that the unlicensed or coloring agents are getting deals that were supposed to be for them, for the licensed practitioners. Especially those who were not able or who still refuse to adapt to the new systems and technologies. However, within the same situation, look at how the others took advantage of it. Next. So, in the same situation, the pandemic just made more people realize the importance, the value of investing in houses, in homes. Everyone around the world were saying, stay home, stay home, stay home. So they have realized the value of investing in real estate. Real estate was the only investment that literally protected us from the virus, from COVID. Not all our other investments, just real estate. So people have realized that. So the appreciation of that, the demand for that has risen, at least the interest. Now, restricted movements, which means buyers are at home, especially the OWs, buyers are at home and have more time to browse. Yesterday, Kenneth Stern saw a very significant growth in their search, in their online search. And then, so which means all this, all the brokers have to do, or the practitioners have to do, is to make their presence felt online. Get the attention of the buyers, get the attention, get eyes on their sites. Okay. So another thing is that the HOOs and PMOs do not allow viewings. Yes, that's true. So uh, it was age of virtual tours last year, and even sellers were even very cooperative, especially those who are motivated. They take pictures of their own properties and send it to the agents so that the agents can market it, can campaign for those properties. Uh, Another one. So while it was quite difficult to do transactions and brokerage, there were developers who were capable of doing online transactions. So the agents who shifted maybe from brokerage to selling for developers who had this capability to do online transactions shifted, made sales, made a lot of sales without leaving their home. They want tours, they send them the videos, or they take them to virtual tours. And then everything was transacted online. They get their commissions, they get their incentives through GCash or deposit online to their banks without going out. Okay, so building networks never became easier than last year. You can build networks already online. See, Another thing is that for those, there are a lot of people who saw the problem because they did not and they refused to adapt to the new technology and systems. But there were others uh, who do not just enjoy it but saw the value of investing in learning how to not only be present online, but to be an authority online, especially when it comes to real estate. So, in short, same situation. Other people saw it as a problem, others saw it as an opportunity. So, which one are you there? How do you see problems? If you see it as a challenge, which is a good term, it is very exciting for champions. If you see a challenge, you enjoy actually facing these challenges. Next. Okay, so the advice is that we are in a period of darkness, in a period of uncertainty. So how do you navigate inside a dark place? Uh, you have to find a light, just like your headlights, which shows you about 10 to 20 meters in front. You have to stay up to date with the current events affecting real estate. See where the development is going, see where infrastructure is going, see where the market is going, see who are buying. So you have to always stay up to date with the current events affecting real estate. This is the reason why last year, August 8th of last year, we came up with, next please, we came up with this Real Estate News Philippines. We gather all the news and developments happening all across the country from the different sources and deliver it fresh to the readers every day. No depressing headlines, no bad news, no politics, nothing. Just opportunities that you can find about real estate. Next, please. So, there. So realestatenews.ph. You can just go there, and then you can hit the subscribe button so that it will be also delivered to you fresh in your emails every day. Incidentally, you also, if you're doing something, you're working out, you just click the read this article button, and we will read it for you. You can just listen to the news that's written there. So next, please. So again, thank you very much. I hope it's not enough. It's not enough for everyone to think positive. It's not enough to think positive. We have to influence the people around us, and we have to spread positivity. That's been my advocacy. That's my mission. Spread positivity, but of course, stay negative with COVID. So, thank you very much for this opportunity. Please stay safe and stay healthy. God bless everyone.
And we are very fortunate to have you, Mr. Alejandro Manala. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, sir, for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. I was like actually really engaged with it, and I was glued to it with your presentation. It's very, very informative. Thank you so much. I bet most of our audience and our friends who are here with us right now have so many questions for you. So please stay with us until a little later. All right. So there you go again, and for the information of all our friends and participants who are here with us, the delegates, please be reminded that we will be having our Q&A right after our last speaker, which is up next already. So there are some slight changes with regard to the Q&A portion, and we will be joining later on, of course, with our two moderators. Definitely, Sir Lawrence and Sir Sylvester will be joining us as our moderators for the Q&A. So get ready with your questions. Okay, in the meantime, let's move on
Okay.
with our last, of course, speaker. Thank you again, Sir Alejandro Manala. Thank you. Now let's move on to our next speaker. But before I finally introduce to you our last speaker for the day two of Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 conference, let's watch this videos first. Here we go. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for that wonderful videos. Now, I'd like to introduce to you, of course, our speaker for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021. She will be speaking about the 15-minute city. And she has worked in diverse industries with operations across the globe. As a seasoned leader in commercial finance, she held various roles in finance, compliance, investor relations, partnership, and network development. She is a certified public accountant, certified financial consultant, and certified risk analyst, a member of the Philippine Chamber of Commerce, British Chamber of Commerce, Nordic Chamber of Commerce, Urban Land Institute, Philippine Franchise Association, and Filipino International Franchise Association. She joined IWG in 2015 as Commercial Finance Director, subsequently moved to the IWG Global Service Center as Global Finance Director, providing commercial decision support, financial analysis, and report to C-levels across 120 countries. And she now heads IWG Philippines Partnership Business, accelerating its growth and expanding its global position. She closed the first two deals for Southeast Asia when the franchise was launched in 2019, growing the network in the Philippines from 25 to 41 centers. IWG is the global operator of leading co-work and workspaces brands with over 3 million members in over 3,500 locations throughout over 1,000 cities in 120 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you right now our last, but definitely not the least speaker. Let's welcome Ms. Rowena Natividad. Hi, Ms. Rowena. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah, but unfortunately, ma'am, we cannot hear you. Oh, okay. So, there, if we can just check on your microphone once again, please. There you go. That we, if you can unhook again your earphone and then, yeah, there you go. Okay, one more time. Nothing yet still, sorry. All right, we're gonna have that fixed. If we can, yes, please try to unhook your earphones and then replug it again, please. And then while we're doing that and we're waiting for the audio of our friend, Mr. Wenan Vidal, again, we would like to acknowledge, of course, our friends and sponsors who help us out in making this event possible. Thank you so much to our event partner, Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, ICFG, Prevail, bronze sponsors, Rehab Group of Companies, My Hometown, Rehab Valuation and Advisory Services Incorporated, BGC Hostel and Dorm, Gary's or Garb's Boutique Hotel, Tronics Master Incorporated, Federal Land Incorporated, Solar Resources Incorporated, Prime World Land Holdings Incorporated, Spaces and HQ by Reduce and HQ by IWG, our media partners, of course, Business Mirror, Loving What You Do, or LWYD, Mindworks Entertainment Incorporated, Local City Guide, and of course, our speakers for the 2-day conference. Of course, first day conference. Thank you so much again, Managing Director of ICFG, Mr. Lawrence Ziller, CEO of Lamudi Philippines, Mr. Kenneth Stern, from Spectrum Investments, President Mr. Carl D, of course, Chairman and CEO of Italpinas Development Corporation, Architect Romulo Nati, and President of Rehab Group of Companies, Dr. Mary Galso. I missed you yesterday. Presenter for Federal Land Incorporated, Property Consulting Stars Division, Federal Land Incorporated, Ms. Rebecca Roque, and of course, UAP Committee Chair for Sustainability and Innovation of ICFG,
Testing.
Mr. Ramon Abiera. And I can hear the beautiful voice already of Ms. Rowena Natividad.
Can you
Hi,
hear
ma'am.
me now?
Yes, I can hear you now loud and clear.
Fantastic.
That's right. Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, Ma'am Rowena, I'm going to give you the floor. Please go ahead.
All right, superb. Let me just try to share my screen. Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Hold on.
There, we can see it already.
Fantastic. Hold on. Okay, how about this one? Can you see it?
Yes, we can see your screen right now.
Okay, fantastic. All right. So again, thank you for the kind introduction, Jesse. I am pleased to be presenting about the 15-minute city. I am also delighted to be in the panel with Christoph, with Andy, Ice, Michael, Sylvester, and Lawrence. All right, so before I proceed presenting about the 15-minute city, I'd like to introduce about our company. Though we've shown our AVP at the onset of my presentation, but anyway, I'd like to discuss a bit more about our company. So we are called International Workplace Group, or IWG. We have been in the business for over 30 years, and here in the Philippines, we have been in operations for over 20 years. Now we're present in 120 countries. We have 3,500 locations, over 7 million users, and we're actually the first and the only one who offers flexible workspace business by way of a franchise partnership. So what's interesting about this slide, I'd like to emphasize our multi-brand portfolio. So most of you know us as Regis, but we also have other brands such as Spaces, HQ, as well as Signature. All right, so I'd like to start my presentation by quoting our founder and chief executive officer, Mark Dixon. So let me just read that for you. Just when local cities and towns seem to be dying, COVID-19 may have come along and saved them. So the realization of the 15-minute commute will be one of the most dramatic and long-lasting legacies of the pandemic. So what is a 15-minute commute? So we envision that the future of work will be revolving around the concept of the 15-minute commute. You know, the easiest way to travel within the urban neighborhood is to walk or bike, no parking issues, no waiting for a Grab, no bus or train. Everyone living in a city should have access to essential urban services within a 15-minute walk or bike. Which brings us to the 15-minute city. So it is actually an urban planning concept. It's the brainchild of the French academic Carlos Moreno. The idea is that work, shops, entertainment, education, healthcare should all be accessible within the 15 minutes of where people live, either by bicycle or by foot. So essentially it means that the city is decentralized. So it becomes a conglomerate of villages, each with its own car-free green spaces, homes, mixed-use spaces, and of course, flexible workspaces. So just put more simply, it's about putting the stuff closer together so it's easier to get the stuff. So here's a quote that I'd like to share to you from Carlos. We need to reinvent the idea of urban proximity. JC, am I logging? Hello?
You're actually all good.
All right, fantastic. Because our community manager actually sent me a note here and said that I'm lagging. So fantastic. Just let me know if I'm lagging. All right, so going back on my presentation, I'd like to share to you a quote from Carlos. It says here, we need to reinvent the idea of urban proximity. You know, earlier, Andy talked about proximity. So we know it is better for people to work near or where they live. And if they can go shopping nearby and have the leisure and services they need around them too, it allows them to have a more tranquil existence. So it's not so much more about mobility, but more on proximity and access. Remember that has been highlighted by Andy in his previous presentation. So I would say access to opportunity, access to urban amenities, to variety, and to other people. It's why people choose to live in the cities anyways, right? So it puts people at the center of urban transformation, and it also brings to life the drivers behind the growth of the hybrid working model, which Michael earlier discussed about the hybrid work model. Okay, so the future is flexible. So this has been highlighted several times in Michael's presentation. You know, anything that is flexible is dynamic, and anything dynamic provides more solutions. So we were actually seeing a demand for flexible workspace before the advent of COVID. But as more workers work primarily from home due to lockdowns and travel restrictions, it is now becoming a more important component of town centers and local communities. So the hybrid working model is often presented in the media in the binary way. We're actually talking about this at the backstage earlier today, but it's actually a combination of working from home and in a corporate office. But there is actually a growing awareness that a third option, and that is working from a workspace close to home, is an important third dimension of the hybrid model. So yesterday, if you've attended the day one of the conference, Moody's CEO Kenneth did mention an increase in demand on residential properties, mostly on leisure homes. So these are actually second properties. And to which I concur, because he said that he thinks that demand will continue as workforce shift into hybrid work model. So you see, COVID-19 has changed our attitudes to how and where we want to work. And I think the 15-minute city is an effective COVID response. Okay, so it's what employees want. We all know that. So lockdowns around the world have forced a large number of people to work from home. And as a consequence, to spend far more time in their local community. And despite the obvious downsides of being separated from friends and relatives, there have been plenty of benefits too. And the most obvious plus has been an end to long commutes. You know, here in the Philippines, I would say around 50 minutes each way on the average. And of course, when you don't commute, you have some money saved. It is better for business. So of course, it is. So as Michael has mentioned earlier, it has some cost savings factor when you use a flexible office. Also, if you ask any CFO, a flexible workspace deal would be on top mind as they don't have to carry an entire lease liability in their balance sheets. And as part of the workforce decentralization, companies have started to also incorporate co-working as part of their core concept, as opposed to running out a conventional space that ties them up to long-term lease, long-term commitment, high capital investment, and not to mention that if they opt to terminate, they have to pay for the penalty. So flexible workspace is dynamic. It provides more solution. It also allows businesses to scale up or scale down, especially at this time of pandemic, with ease according to their, of course, specific needs. And obviously, it is better for the environment. So with an end to long commutes, partly thanks to the effects of COVID, towns that were previously empty during the day will become vibrant communities. So in turn, this will have environmental benefits as carbon emissions are, of course, reduced. The enemy is commute. Now, this is one of my favorite slide, and this is actually very interesting. You know, pre-pandemic, if you ask an employee what is least that he likes about his job, he'd say that it's the commute. We're all guilty of that. But now to add to that, to a high degree, the distractions when working from home too. You know, we were all forced into a global remote working experiment, and some of the challenges of working from home became very clear. First, you know, the challenges of internet connectivity. You know, I know it's different per country, but Philippines is very much challenged. You have your spouse and maybe your children who are all competing with you in terms of bandwidth because they're trying to do homeschooling. And you have housemates, partners, or family members who are all top distractors. Even some firms were unable to guarantee data security when used by remote workers, data privacy. And employees miss the face-to-face. So social interaction, I think, is something that we all want. I think that was mentioned earlier by Christoph as well. It is inherent in us. It's all that it's something that we want. I believe that when you socially interact, that helps build culture of the company. And as you know, that culture, a strong culture builds team resilience. And that's what we need, especially at this time of the pandemic. I've actually read an article, very interesting article about 3 weeks ago that says some of the employees who have been hired during the pandemic are actually resigning from work, tendering their resignations. And the primary reason is that they never had a chance to socially interact in person with their colleagues. So it is really important part of human nature. And the solution to this is a local flexible workspace which fits into our business model in a 15-minute city concept. Okay. So hybrid working is now generally accepted to be the primary model for the future of work. And that future of work actually is happening now. Based on our research, 3 times the number of Fortune 250 companies are currently looking to a hybrid model compared to those intending to carry on in the same way as pre-pandemic. So as a result, let me just check on the statistics. As a result, businesses are reassessing their office space with 38% downsizing across the board and 42% looking to either move to invest in a shared office. Earlier, Christoph talked about the percentage of employees. I actually jotted note. So the percentage of employees who feels more productive at home. And interestingly, last year it was at 48%. And then when they conducted that same survey again recently, it was down to 37%. So you see, employees now are actually geared towards this hybrid working model. So not just staying at home, but working in the office or elsewhere or in a place very near their home. So as a result, I think, what I wanted to emphasize in this slide is that I think there won't be any more new buildings that will be turned over without that element of flexibility. If they omit to put in flexible workspace, they might as well have forgotten to put in reception, parking, elevator. It is a must going forward. Flex in the city. So we've talked about people wanting to work close where they live. So what's interesting in this slide is the rates. It's very high at 77%. I actually read an article about 2 weeks ago, and it shows 80%. So what's good is the rates are actually increasing. So there are more portion of the workforce, a significant chunk of the workforce who are saying that they wanted to work in a place that's very near their home. Actually, in our past speaking engagements, we have been calling this as a workplace revolution. And I think we are likely to look back in the COVID-19 pandemic and see this as a catalyst that set this revolution in motion. Okay, so here are some excerpts that we got from the news and social media platforms, and I want to share some highlights to you. This year, actually Standard Chartered, Nestle, HSBC, Nippon Telegraph and Telephone Corporation, or most popularly known as NTT, they actually signed 500,000 of membership deal with us to offer flexible work options to their employees across the globe. So that means 500,000 named employees can access any of our centers in 120 countries. So as you notice, diverse industries have done their due diligence and are ready for the future of work, which, as I said earlier, is happening now. Even big banks, such as Standard Chartered, HSBC, whose data security is very critical, have actually bought memberships from us. With our strong IT infrastructure, we guarantee full data security. These companies have performed their due diligence. The saying that says, what got you here won't get you there. So it's important that companies reinvent and re-engineer themselves so that they may thrive when we get to the other side. So I wanted to highlight also in this slide the fact that large corporations are latching on to the hybrid work model, shows that flexible offices have massive potential in every sector. So aside from employee retention, flexible workspace also drives recruitment of a more and wider talent pool. So it allows employers to secure the very best talent and new talents such as freelance workers, regardless of their location. So in the past, it has been kind of restrictive because there are some talents who does not want to move or relocate to where the office is. In fact, in our global workspace survey, we found that 92% of the millennials, so millennials or Gen X or Zoomers, as mentioned by ICE earlier, so the 92% of the millennials identify flexibility as top priority when job hunting. So another survey says that 30% of the workforce are composed of the millennials. So it's a significant chunk of the workforce. It's 1/3 of the workforce. And these millennials were born early as, I think, 1981. And given the age, they are now easing into the C-level roles. And mind you, they will not turn their back from hybrid working. So they will continue to do hybrid working. So meanwhile, local economies benefit from this uptick in employment, as well as from the retention of employee salaries within the local community, of course. Growth in the suburbs. So most of you know Lars Wittig. So Lars is our country manager for Philippines. He's also country manager for Asia Pacific, other countries, as well as ASEAN. And also the sales vice president for these countries. He's one of the employees that has the longest title, even if we compare that to our CEO. So Lars actually traveled to Davao and Cebu back in April and June, where he talked extensively about the growth or the surge in demand for flexible workspace in the suburbs. I think because cities work towards the COVID-19 recovery, the 15-minute city, which we have been talking extensively, is more relevant than ever as organizing principle for urban development. So we've all seen the decline in retail impacted by the growth of the e-commerce. Many retailers, including major chains, have actually been forced to reduce their footprint or even fold or close. Prolonged closures during periods of lockdown have only exacerbated this crisis. So this has led many to imagine a new future for town centers, chiming perfectly within that 15-minute city concept, in which they become multifunctional hubs, offering not only retail outlets, but also essential services, local leisure amenities, and certainly, of course, flexible workspaces. Hence, I would say that there's a tremendous opportunity for entrepreneurs within the local community. Okay, so the 15-minute commute is set to become a reality across the working world. And to help bring this to life, we actually partnered with global architects B+H to show what the reality might look like in Brighton, as well as in Washington. So this is a bit overcrowded slide. You can actually see, let me just get my glass. So you can actually see a school there, a park, medical services facility, flexible space, and then offices and hotels and houses. So basically, the illustrations show how the cities are already primed to be able to offer its residents everything they need to work and live there. So within that 15 minutes from their front door. So another map, but this time it's for Washington. So B plus H, our consultant, created a city mind map to show how the concept of the 15-minute commute is part of a system that incorporates work, play, eating, well-being, maybe shopping, learning, and of course, contributing to society. And this isn't just a pie in the sky because changes are already happening across the globe. So with people working locally, local amenities and retail outlets will receive a boost and new jobs will be created. So just summarizing what I have discussed earlier on. Work-life balance, of course, will improve, making people more productive and healthier. And with the travel reduced, carbon emissions will fall and cities will see far less congestion, which has been our dream ever since for this country. So meanwhile, local communities will thrive as investments flood in for new infrastructure as well as facilities. So Andy did mention about the surge in demand for the provinces, and that's actually the result of this, people wanting to work very near their home. So that is the world of the 15-minute commute. In the future, we think that communities will cater to our every need within a quarter of an hour we will leave. And the final piece of the jigsaw will be provided by flexible workspace solutions that offer all the benefits of a centralized office close to home. And the result, it's going to be a world of the 15-minute commute, a place where lives are transformed for the better, and one that gives us back the sizable chunk of our most cherished commodity. And guess what is that? Of course, time. So that ends my presentation. I hope to have provided you some good insights about the 15-minute city. So over to you, Jesse.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wen and Natividad. That was very engaging. And I was like, really like, listening to the whole presentation when you're doing it. And it's so informative. And I bet most of our delegates who are here with us right now have so many questions. So please stay tuned, okay? Because right now I'm going to introduce our moderators. That's right. As I said it, it's moderators. We have two moderators who will be joining us. Of course, let me introduce them to you. Please meet our Q&A moderator for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 conference, a graduate of UC Berkeley in architecture and the vice president of Cities AECOM. I hope I said that correctly, or AECOM. Mr. Wong's career spans over 2 decades and is based in San Francisco, Manila, and Hong Kong. And he is also an active advisor to technology startups in PropTech and FinTech across Southeast Asia, and a co-founder of the PropTech Consortium of the Philippines. Has led multidisciplinary teams to deliver new cities, sustainable urban infrastructure, incorporating specialties, strategic and tactical risk resilience, digital infrastructure, biomimicry, market analysis, future mobility, tourism and industrial sectoral development, social cultural engagement, heritage assessment, program design, capacity building, and of course, technology. He works as an executive committee member of Urban Land Institute Philippines and the Tech Venture Capital Circuit Champions Vision-led strategy for tackling the stresses and opportunities of urbanization, particularly in emerging markets. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our first Q&A moderator, Mr. Sylvester Wong. Hi, Sir Sylvester. Good morning. Good afternoon, rather.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Josh. I'm thinking, who wrote that intro? And I forgot. Maybe I did.
It's okay, sir, but it's really, really nice. It's a really nice portfolio. Anyway, I'd just like to introduce to you, of course, the one who will be joining you as well as your co-moderator for this afternoon, entrepreneur and management consultant in the corporate business service sector, has vast and irrelevant and extensive experience in business development, property development, real estate, construction, and tourism development, a mentor to several projects, corporations and investors interested to enter the fastest growing market in the Philippines and be a stay in. He's the managing director of Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, or ICFG. Let's welcome as well Mr. Lawrence Ziller. Hi, Sir Lawrence.
Thank you very much, JM.
That's right.
You're too kind.
Thank you, Sir Lawrence. Thank you, Sir Sylvester, for being our moderators for this afternoon for the second day of the Real Estate Expo Manila. Please go ahead and take the floor with you, and let's welcome back all our, of course, speakers right now for the Q&A portion. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Sylvester, actually, I don't want to steal your job here because you are the moderator of this Q&A session. I'll be just holding your bag and jumping in case of you need it. So I thought you're probably the best moderator after the speakers that we have heard because they were talking about redesigning spaces and office spaces. And you as let's say, an urban planner, I'm sure you have a lot of things to say about these topics.
Well, thanks, Lawrence. And actually, the real experts have just given their thoughts, and it's an incredible time to be, in Manila, 16 months into this pandemic and feeling our way around. I think none of us could have expected where we are today. Hey, thanks a lot, Lawrence, and thanks a lot, Josh, for setting all this up. And thanks very much to all of the speakers so far for sharing, how things are moving around. As you can tell, I'm actually still working from home, and I think a lot of people are trying to figure this out right now. What's the next step for the next 3 months and 6 months and year and forward? And Rowena's conversation about the 15-minute city is pretty exciting because the implications of how we work and how we interact with each other could have far-reaching meaning to how our cities are organized. Maybe what I'd like to do is invite everybody who's on the watching and participating to send your Q&A. Use the Q&A panel inside the Real Estate Expo Manila window here, and send them over. I think Lawrence, I'll ask if you see any of the Q&A new questions come up to just jump in. And what I'll do in the meantime is I'll just go through each one and kind of add one big question for each of you. And I hope it's not too difficult. I thought, should I do some softball questions? Should I get really into it? And I figure, we're all friends, so let's roll up the sleeves of it. Is that okay? Good stuff.
Sylvester, why don't you answer
purpose-led offices?
Sorry, Sylvester. I would like to ask you one question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, shoot.
Okay, so you're saying you're working from home. So what are your challenges to work from home?
Wow. Okay. Well, it's interesting because we have probably 3 very commonalities at ACOM with many other businesses that have this sort of situation. One, we do have 400 to 500 people working as our global support services for the rest of the organization. And so I think they're having their own challenges about how do you serve a global organization depending on all this digital infrastructure when you're trying to do it from home. So that's one pain point. The second pain point is for the design teams. We have about 200 people in engineers, designers, professionals who need face-to-face interaction. And we've kind of been able to do it so far, but I think spending a lot more time than we otherwise would have versus sitting around the table and going. And then I think we have also maybe kind of a few of us, like myself, who interface a lot with overseas clients, and we're finding getting on a plane, we're able to squeeze in a lot more meetings actually that by not a lot more business every day, which my pain point is I don't have enough coffee to keep up. So I think that's sort of, and I would imagine that a lot of people have very similar types of pain points across their businesses. So that's what I'm going to ask about, if that's okay. Go to Christoph again, this purpose-led office, the sense of a lot of growth in the new letting, right? But I also noticed that it's also a decrease in expansion. So I'm wondering how much of the market change is about right sizing or relocation. If it's relocation, where are they moving to? Christoph, hi. Are we having some audio issues?
Yeah, Christoph, you cannot hear him?
Yeah, still not. Christoph, maybe we'll figure out the audio. Dwell on that question for a second. Let me jump over to Ice if you don't mind. Ice, how are you doing? This interest in residential markets, looking for space. I know, I feel it. I feel like I missed out on the Fuego bump. But this is a question would be, is this the same demographic that's been looking for housing and they really are switching what they're looking for? Or do you think that is there just a trend to a higher income segment who naturally would look for these things because maybe more entry level are not even in the market anymore? Where do you think we are today, Ice? Hi, sorry, but I think we have audio problems there too. Josh, do you think this is going to be happen for everyone?
I suppose not. I mean, it's just really the connection of some of our speakers that's affecting, of course, this type of problem. But definitely, if they can try to, you know, uh, put in back or pull out and then put in back their earphones or their headsets, definitely it's going to work again, just like a while
Okay.
ago.
Sylvester, can you hear me, man? I'm
Hey,
Yeah, we can hear Christoph
Mike,
right now. There you
let's
go.
jump to you. Fantastic. Okay,
I'm,
Mr.
I'm
Beachman, I was hoping to see a lot more sun behind you there. This hybrid office, I'm really hoping the hybrid also means working at the beach. But hey, I hear you. Distributed workforce, work near home. We hear it from Uena's talk as well. Does that mean that KMC is going to be opening a lot more places close to folks, or how is it going to impact your co-working business strategy?
Yeah, I mean, so we're seeing a lot more companies come to us with their hub and spoke requirements, which is really exciting. They have an office in BGC already. Now they want a 50 or 100 seater in Alabang, or maybe they want to go 50 or 100 feet also in, say, somewhere in the north, like Oakland City. So really excited to be working with our companies that want to, they can do it on a trial basis. We're going to try it for 3 or 6 months. We're adding technology like occupancy sensors under each table so they can actually see the real live utilization of these offices that they're paying for, and does it make sense?
Wow, you mean like those sensors in a parking lot? You go red and green.
Exact technology. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible because both your outfit and the IWG outfit is sort of this ability for small business owners to partner as well and create opportunities. I'm conscious that many of our audience may actually be part of small buildings, and this is going to be a source of many of my questions. Is anyone else also in your audio is working?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
Christoph,
Hey,
please.
success, at least on one front.
Yeah, hey. So again, I suppose we can move on with a question for Sir Christopher a while ago.
And I forgot the question. No, I did not.
That the question was around how much of that new letting is could actually be right sizing or relocation, and if it's relocation, where are they moving to?
Okay, I mean, it is a mix of relocation, especially where the BCP, because as I said, there is a clear understanding or recognition that having one big office is not necessarily what a big company wants, because if you have one big office in one barangay or LGU and it's on the lockdown, that's it. You cannot operate. You have to go work from home. And part of the new letting is definitely some of the BPOs are looking at BCP for having alternative office space. Some are growing. I mean, some are becoming winners of the pandemic. And you can imagine that the e-commerce back office BPO have grown exponentially. Every time you click on your service center behind or an automated center, etc. Definitely not an exodus outside Metro Manila, but we've seen some, and they are always the adventurous company corporation who are looking at the provinces, and they're looking more and more at big space in the provinces. There is clearly a realization that, and it's back to all the discussion presentation, there is a need to be closer to the location of the residence of the employees. They don't want less commute. They want the 15-minute city. Uh, there is a strong focus on having transit-oriented development, i.e. near transport hub to have a walking distance to where you live, even if you choose to commute at some stage back to the office. Uh, it's not black and white. Everybody moves out of the central business district, uh, go into provinces. It goes where there is infrastructure, and there is also an element of talent availability. There is clearly some opportunity for good deals for some big office BPOs operator. They still need to have a certain talent pool. And this could be not only a price point, cheaper to be outside of Metro Manila, but also do I have the talent for now and for my growth in the next 6, 12, 18 months? And as you know, the BPO is very prone to retention issues with the people, which means there is an element of do I want to go near my competition or do I want to be a trailblazer in an area where I will be the first one to enter this market?
I like what you said there. Really thinking beyond following herd mentality and saying where's going to be the next one. Maybe this is a good segue to Andy's positivity about what's happening around the country, and then we'll come back to a question, and I'm going to say the second question so that everyone has a chance to think about it. The second question later, after Andy, is going to be given a choice between a property. I'm inspired by the Q&A here. Thanks very much, Christian, for this. If you have a property, what do I spend my money on now to attract the new normal tenant? Is it customer experience or is it green and sustainable? Think about that one for a second. I'm going to go back then to Andy and ask you, hey, we saw the South go crazy for sure. And Batangas and Tagaytay and Baguio are clearly like maybe we've missed the boat already. If you had to pick 3 other places, top in the country, besides those, where the ball is going to, where do you think that could be? Those next hot spots.
Me? Sorry. Outside Luzon is Cagayan de Oro. We can ask Lawrence why. Cagayan de Oro, yeah, Cagayan de Oro and Davao.
CDO Davao, and we had Romulo on yesterday. I'm sure talked a lot about what's happening down there. I heard earlier our chats were about Ilo and running out of space.
Also Pampanga.
I mean, Andy and Pampanga.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this because of capital flight from Metro Manila, or is it local demand that's driving that?
Local demand. The people who are buying there are the locals. They are the locals because, okay, we call it domestic market, but actually the money is coming from the outside. These are the OFWs generating dollars from the outside, bringing in the money in. So Filipino buyers, but these are foreign money coming in also. And where are they? They are coming from these areas, from Calabar zone, from Central Luzon, and also from the eastern western Visayas area. So they are now investing in their own areas.
That's
And the good
it's
thing now is
fantastic.
that before, they were only able to see the amenities that are being offered in the projects in Makati or in the Bay Area. But now developers are providing them with the same facilities, the same luxury amenities in their own provinces or in their own cities.
Andy, it's interesting you say that, the same, meaning the same level of quality, but maybe not necessarily the same features, right? I mean, do you think there's a difference in the product type and how we are selling this to that overseas segment that are from those areas that could give some hints to the developers in our audience about what to build into their next products in the South?
Yeah, they build, like, for example, the usual amenities here, like we have the swimming pool, the open space, the parks, the playgrounds, uh, and the developers there in those areas are able to give them more space because the acquisition of the land is much cheaper.
So all that search for space that ICE was talking about, maybe it's not just in the outer Metro Manila regions, looking across the country. So I'm going to go back to that question. Customer experience or green and healthy. And I know some of you, I can anticipate the question answer already. Rowena, how about yourself? What do you think that the work live hybrid consumer is looking for? More on the customer experience or more on the green and healthy?
Yeah, I think with the COVID pandemic, I think people have now been more concerned about the health and well-being of their employees. So I would say that a combination of both. So the place where they should be working at should be green and sustainable, but to a certain high degree, the customer experience, because they wanted to, of course, to work in a place where they feel safe, where they feel healthy. So as mentioned by Christoph earlier, people are actually decentralizing their workforce, getting offices in cities outside of the central business district area. So that's one of the factor as well, as they consider the health of their employees. So they don't want for people to be in one room such that when one sneezes, the HR will be too concerned. So they wanted to decentralize their workforce as well. So I would say, in my perspective, so both customer experience to a high degree, as well as the green and sustainability.
Is that going to be within reach, especially for small business owners who are trying to improve their properties? And all these capital expenditures could be pretty pricey, right? What question to you or to ICE on the residential market is, especially as Gen Z is coming up and becoming the decision makers on this. How do you balance it? How do you, uh, I'm sure a lot of small business owners don't want to spend too much in these times for capital expenditures. What's our solution to that?
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent.
All right,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, if you're, I totally agree with you that it can be really challenging for MSMEs for for doing the renovations and stuff so that they can accommodate their employees. But what they can do is they can do the hybrid. They can have their office like just like the ones that were mentioned, and they can also do the 70-30 thingy that most companies are now doing, like 70% in the office, 30%, 70% of their people are in the office, 30% are working from home, and then there's like shifting. So there are a lot of strategies on how these companies can do, but basically, yes, it can be a challenge, but the main consideration really is health, because if you will take a look at your expenses, if anybody gets sick, it's more expensive than just paying for their rent and whatnot.
Thanks. It is a balance of where you put that investment. And I heard a couple of folks talk about the transportation component of this, not just about what you do in the buildings or in the workspace or in the resorts, etc., but how you get between them as well. Does anybody want to chime in on where they see mobility being part of the offer from a real estate standpoint? A part of either a workspace offering or a residential offering.
Valerie Flores is currently unavailable.
Can you hear me?
Leave a message after the tone.
Hi, Christoph.
Please hang up.
Yeah. I think mobility will be part of the well-being factor, either when choosing residential or office or your employer. It will be one of your criteria as a candidate to see, do you have to commute back to previous pandemic? Is it next to my residential area? Or is a company going to provide commute? And we mentioned about the cost of the new setup for doing business. I personally think that we call it hub and club or the hybrid or the hub and spoke, will gain momentum because this will be one of the way to mitigate the risk factor and some of the cost increase of doing business in a new next normal. We will see, and I would say I would correlate that to what's happened in Europe in the 80s, 90s, where people migrated back to the countryside because there were work available outside the big agglomeration. Also, technology was nascent. Internet was becoming better, etc. Which means I think we will see a migration back. It will be definitely within the new employment setup, but mobility will have an impact. I also believe we will be looking at green transportation, either government-led or individual-led. I mean, I know there is some discussion to start even to bring some green jeepneys, even they may not call jeepneys in a sense that they may not look the same, but definitely where we want to use green energy to move and be raising the awareness, the sustainability agenda for the Philippines. Thank you.
Super. If a building owner had to choose between investing in
I think we lost Sylvester.
Okay, so let me jump in then. If we lost Sylvester, I don't know if you hear. It's heavily raining where I am right now. Do you hear any background noise, or is it okay?
All good.
All good.
Oh, good.
Okay, so we have a question here by Christian Nicole Nakazawa. Any vision on what will be the scenarios in the coming years after the pandemic ends? What type of ventures do you see will prosper in the years when pandemic is finished? Anyone? So what kind of ventures will you see prosper when this all ends? Or will it all end? Who would like to answer that or give an input on that?
Lawrence, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Michael, please.
I think two of the most promising industries in the Philippines would be the industrial space, warehousing, particularly for all the last mile logistics for these e-commerce providers, and data centers. There'll be a lot of interest right now in data centers, and we hope to see a couple of hyperscale data centers come into the country in the multiple tens of megawatts. So they'll be here soon enough.
Okay, thank you.
I could add as a general comment that whatever's going to have a green financing component will become prominent because this will be one of the way to deliver the commitment on the sustainability, climate accord, etc. We already seen a lot of investment made available exclusively for green construction, green investment, green research, green production. And I think this money either will be allocated from a domestic point of view, and we have a Artalan who has a green bond, for example, but also there will be institutional money coming to the Philippines because there is also a growing corporate understanding that the money will have to be invested in countries where the sustainability or the green agenda is the most needed. And we are ultimately going back to well-being of individual. Habitants, workers, elderly, young, older generation. And the green financing will, for me, be one of the key elements of the future.
So we're talking about the ESG investments, the ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Correct.
Okay, I think Sylvester is back. Are you back,
Lawrence?
for a moment?
Can I add, Lawrence?
Yes, of course. Please, Sandy.
Okay. I'm also seeing some potential in vacation rentals, but not the big ones because these are quite challenging to lease out on a short term basis. But affordable income generating vacation homes. So that one because out of town vacation properties, not the high density. People want to be out, not to be in another building with thousands of neighbors. This vacation rentals, as long as it can be affordable for the generation of Ivy, then then I think that would also be a big hit. Unlike before, the vacation homes that we have are just left there idle, maybe deteriorating, high maintenance if we're not using it, right? But this time, affordable income generating vacation homes. That would be a good potential.
Thank you, Andy.
Lauren, I would
Sylvester,
like to.
yes, Rowena, please.
Yeah, I'd like to add a few things about that as well. So mine is more on the general side. I think that the good times will come back, but it will not be the same good old time. So it will now be a different time. I would say that the company, that the industry, not very specific, that will thrive after the pandemic when we get to the other side are those who have actually reinvented themselves or have re-engineered. So these are the companies who have opted to innovate and perform their due diligence during the pandemic. You know, for Fortune 500 companies in the past, very easy to predict that they will last for, say, 20 years or 50 years. But take a look at the statistics. In the past 10 years, usually these top 500 Fortune companies are gone after like 5 to 10 years. So it's a matter of adapting to whatever change, whatever pandemic crisis has happened to you. So it's more on who has reinvented or re-engineered themselves that will thrive when we get to the other side. That's my thoughts.
Thank you, Rowena. Anyone else in the meanwhile? Otherwise, I'll give the floor back to Sylvester.
I mean, I really just have one more, and it's very inspired by Ms. Irma Odono, who sent a question in, and you know, all these ideas about new businesses and getting out of the Metro Manila to create new opportunities is fantastic for those of us who can do that. But you know, many of the property owners, many of the folks who are on the call and watching today are right here in Metro Manila. Suffered the brunt of this, trying to scratch their head saying, what's the future for my tenants, my customers, my clients, etc. So going around the table, what do you think is there an opportunity today, now that everyone has seen and been shooken up by this pandemic? How do we fix Metro Manila itself, the congestion, the et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? I'd love to hear from everybody on this, actually.
Shall I start trying to answer? This is not one simple question. Look, as a foreigner, I would say that I have seen the last 5 years the benefit of the infrastructure, and I mean I came back from Clark on Monday with the extension of the Skyway. I was pleasantly surprised how the trip was shortened. It's not perfect, but one, I believe the infrastructure will continue to improve Metro Manila. The next point is we kind of, all of us, to a certain extent, we are focusing on a pandemic. But if we can extrapolate or project ourselves in the next 2-3 years, and yes, there is a lot of businesses that have suffered, are continuing to suffer, big, small, medium. The fundamental of the Philippines have not changed in terms of the number of the population, the average age, the education, etc. Which means the pandemic is really a huge stop in the development and progression of the country. But there's no reason why, and it may take longer than expected originally, the fundamentals of the economic growth of this country have not disappeared. They may have been softened and extended in the percentage of growth, GDP, investment, etc. But they will still be there, and it will still be an attractive investment opportunity for those who want to invest in an emerging economy. And I think for me, these are really key fundamentals that will prevail and will continue impact positively the development of the country.
Yeah. If I may add, okay. From there, yes, the fundamentals are very strong. Plus, also as pointed out earlier, the key drivers, the population, the BPO, the OFW, are there. So whatever we're experiencing now is call it temporary. And like for example, from my end, I have a lot of vacant units. My other tenants are going to end their contract next month. So, but then if I want to still have some cash flow, then it's my choice. Should I leave it empty and wait for the rental rates to go back up, or just to have some cash flow? Should I adjust my rates at a more competitive price? So it's still within our control. But whatever sacrifice we have to make right now, it is going to be temporary. There's hope. There's hope there, and again, because is there. Fundamentals is quite strong, and it's improving. It's actually improving. Technology is improving. Infrastructure is improving. Politics. Next question.
Well, I'll segue there just to save that. Maybe let's we're at the bottom of the hour, half hour. Let's say Ice, and then Rowena, and then Michael. Just your last thoughts on how do we fix Metro Manila? Go for it.
Can I go first? Can you hear me?
Ice first or myself? Ice.
Okay. All right. So, well, this is a very complicated question that I think no one can answer like in one sentence or even in a paragraph or even in 500 pages. Um, I believe the government has been doing the government, whether the previous government, the current government, or even the future government, they're doing their best to improve the infrastructure. That's true. Also, with regards to the private sector, I believe the private sector is also doing their best to, keep up with the developments amidst the pandemic. Developments have still been rising, but really, for me, it's not really just so much about the government and the private sector. Um, I have been living in the Philippines for all my life, and what I can say is that there should be a collective responsibility and not just ask the government or the private sector or whoever agencies we can rely on to, but just a matter of collective responsibility, what we can do from our end, what sacrifices, as mentioned by Andy earlier, what sacrifices can we do? And even not to that extent, even though you don't even have to sacrifice, just what we can contribute to our own economy and to our community. I think everyone has that power within them to address this urbanization. And also another thing is really to encourage more people, the private, the government sector, to maybe do more research and development, focus more on research and development, because I live in the Bicol region. I was born and raised in the Bicol region. And from the time that I left Bicol region up until now, I've seen pretty much a good improvement, but it's not still not as still not at par with with progressive cities like Metro Manila. So yeah, more research and development, because when there's research and development, everything else can follow through. So that would be all from my end. I hope I made some sense there. Thank you.
Thank you, Rowena, and then Michael.
Yeah, so I would say that there certainly is a huge potential for us to decongest Manila and move some of the businesses or economic activities outside of the main central business district areas. Just to mention a few, a province in the south actually we're talking about this backstage, have a lot of universities. We have a huge talent pool that are available outside of Metro Manila. And these workforce are actually going to Manila just to work there because there's not much incentives for them to work in the provinces. Then further down south in Dumaguete, if you've been there are a lot of universities there. So even Siliman University, one of the most prominent universities that we have here, is actually there. So they're creating a lot of talent pool, and these talent pool are actually going to the Cebu areas, the central business districts there, or other in Metro Manila. So it would be good for us to tap those talents. And I would say some of the private companies are actually doing their part. There are township developments that are being set up outside of the Metro Manila, and that somehow fits into the 15-minute city model. As mentioned yesterday, these properties are actually kind of stable during the pandemic. They were selling at the same level as pre-pandemic, so more people are going towards the provinces. Another good thing about these private companies, I know one for a fact that, like for Batangas, though there are a lot of PESA zones there, which gives the companies preferential rate or tax incentives, but most of the workers are focused on technicals. So with the boom of the BPO industry, it would be good for them to gear their workforce in preparation for this BPO boom that may take up offices outside of the Metro Manila. One big developer that I know of are actually conducting free training to their workforce just to prepare them for the BPO. So I would say leveraging on what ICE have discussed, it's a combined effort between the government, the citizens, as well as the private companies, with government putting on more incentive on people working outside of the suburbs, and of course, private companies complementing that as well.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Andy Manyala needs to leave us for an urgent meeting. So Andy, thank you for
Thank you very much.
being here.
Great session, everyone. Thank you very much. See you around. Stay safe.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care, Andy.
Bye, Andy.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
All right. We
Are we backstage?
All right,
no, I
so,
think we're
there
still,
we go.
still
Yeah.
live here.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks everybody. If Michael wanted a last word in there, hand it back to Josh after Michael. Would that be all right?
I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So, how to fix Metro Manila? We can repurpose government land for low-cost housing and keep workers close to where the jobs are. We can update the laws to require developers to build low-cost housing within, a kilometer of their development, for example. And work from home has actually saved Metro Manila traffic quite amazingly. A longer-term, more sustainable solution is probably work near home, like what Rowena was saying about the 15-minute city. Trying to see these suburbs develop. It's going to be important that people stay and drive to those suburbs and not make the long commute all the way from Batangas to Metro Manila every day. But that's it.
Thanks.
If I may add to that, I think the question is the best answer is probably the one for Sylvester to give, because he would probably plan a subway like in London all over Manila and the outskirts, because his company is capable of doing that. And like this, he can solve all the traffic problems, all the overpopulation problems of Metro Manila. Isn't that so?
Well, it's kind of you to say that, but we look well beyond the physical or the digital infrastructure solution to the outcome. What are we really trying to do? And we're trying to give people back their time. I think it was well said earlier that this jobs housing imbalance is what got us here in the first place. And I think everybody, even the small business owners who are in the middle of Metro Manila, if we find creative ways to bring work and home closer together to reduce that traffic, that's a really big piece of it. So whether it's through subways or whether it's through better internet for everybody on the call, things like that. I'm really curious, Lawrence, I know you're calling in from CDO, if some of these other cities are able to learn from the challenges of Metro Manila and maybe leapfrog and prevent some of these.
If you don't mind, I would like to share my screen for a moment, because when I was living in Makati, I was living in a building where the internet was absolutely horrible. And then when I came to Cagayan de Oro, we have some property in, I call it in the bush. So it's in the province, in the middle of the greenery. And would you believe we have there a fiber optics. So I wanted to show you if, oh no, I cannot see it. I cannot show you, sorry. I had a small Bahay Kubo made out of bamboo, and the internet in that Bahay Kubo was so fantastic that I nominated it as my official office, because it was such a big difference from the Makati building to this little bamboo shed where I had fiber internet. So the infrastructure in the provinces is actually very good. I think the city, Metro Manila, is suffering in some of the buildings that did not plan, let's say, fiber optics in their buildings, so they're still running with the old cables. So I think also the buildings would have to have a little reshaping and restructuring to make life better for city residents. I'm really sorry I cannot share this this picture, but it would be worthwhile.
Thanks, Lawrence. That's inspiring. I mean, I'm looking at Josh over there with his green behind. I'm thinking everybody's going to end up having that as part of their home office now, green screen, so that we can basically plug ourselves into any place in the world. Josh, thanks a lot for letting us moderate this, and thanks very much to Michael and Ice and Andy and Christoph and Rowena for all these great inputs. That goes, well, of course, well beyond what your particular businesses are about, and really to the future of the country and the positive possibilities ahead. Lawrence, thank you for asking me to join.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So there you go. Again, it's our pleasure, of course. And thank you to our moderators, of course, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you as well to Sir Sylvester. And thank you, of course, to all our speakers, our panelists, of course, who joined us on the day 2 of the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021. Mr. Christoph Bichik, country lead of JLL Philippines. Mr. Alejandro Andy Manyala, chairman of Test Development Corporation. Ms. Irene Calderon, managing director of This Gator Consultants Inc. And of course, Mr. Michael McCullough, Managing Director of KMC Group, KMC Sevils, and of course, Head of Partnership, Growth and Network Development International Workplace Group, Mr. Ryan Natividad. Again, thank you, Mr. Sylvester Wong, and of course, Sir Lawrence Ziller. Thank you so much to all our speakers, of course, as well during the Day 2 conference. Mr. Lawrence Ziller, Managing Director of ICFG, Mr. Kenneth Stern, CEO of Lamudi Philippines, Mr. Carl D, President of Spectrum Investments, Architect Romulo Nati, Chairman and CEO of Filipinas Development Corporation. Hi, Dr. Mera Gauso. I hope you're watching right now. And thank you. I miss you, President of Rehab Group of Companies. Ms. Rebecca Roque, Presenter for Federal Land Incorporated, Property Consultant, Stars Division, Federal Land Inc., and of course, UAP Committee Chair for Sustainability and Innovation, ICFG, Mr. Ramon Aguera. Again, to our delegates as well, thank you so much for joining us on the Day 2 of Real Estate Expo Manila Conference 2021. And for those who are asking about their e-certificates, we will be sending those e-certificates of attendance into your emails as soon as possible. All right, so please stay tuned for those. And then again, of course, for those who will be availing their CPD units, you may actually, of course, interact and connect definitely with our CPD unit provider, Prevail. Ms. Pristine will be very happy to assist you with regards to the CPD units. All right, so there you go. Again, thank you, of course, to our partners and sponsors for being with us as well on our 2-day conference and for this event, of course, of the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021. Again, thank you. Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, ICFG, Prevail, our bronze sponsors, Rehab Group of Companies, My Hometown, Rehab Valuation and Advisory Services Incorporated, BGC Hostel and Dorm, Garbs Boutique Hotel, Tronics Master Incorporated, Federal Land Incorporated, Solar Resources Incorporated, Prime World Land Holdings Incorporated, Spaces, and HQ by IWG, our media partners, Business Mirror, Loving What You Do, or Mindworks Entertainment Incorporated, Lopal City. Thank you so much. This has been, of course, the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 Day 2 Conference. Again, to all our delegates, speakers, panelists, moderators, thank you, and please do enjoy the rest of your day. See you again next year.
Thank you. Thanks, Storm.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Again,
guys. Bye.
Thank you.
That's right. Again, of course, we would like to inform everybody. And again, with regards to the e-certificates, I can still see some messages here on the discussion portion that your e-certificates will be sent out to you via email as soon as possible. Of course, again, Real Estate Expo Manila 2021 is brought to you by Ad Asia Events. Thank you, everybody. And again, stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, would like to acknowledge our sponsors on the second day of our conference for the Real Estate Expo Manila 2021. But don't forget, Real Estate Expo is still ongoing until tomorrow. So please do come back and visit us, of course, and do visit all our exhibitors and sponsors and partners booth, definitely here on the floor. So again, we'd like to acknowledge our sponsors. Special thanks to our event partners, Infrastructure and Construction Focus Group, ICFG, Prevail, bronze sponsors. We have group of companies, My Hometown. We have Valuation and Advisory Services Incorporated, BGC Hostel and Dorm, Garv's Boutique Hotel, Tronics Master Incorporated, Federal Land Incorporated, Solar Resources Incorporated, Prime World Land Holdings Incorporated, Spaces, Regis, and HQ by IWG. Our media partners, Business Mirror, Loving What You Do, LWYD, Mindworks Entertainment Incorporated, and Local City Guide. Thank you once again to all our speakers on the day one and day two of the conference. This is Real Estate Expo Manila 2021. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Our services are delivered at a world-class international standard, and our clients can tell, and that's why they continue to use us time and time again.
It all started from building homes in the South and transformed into providing roof for every Filipino family. Solar Resources Incorporated's residential developments let you live in space that allows you to achieve a balanced lifestyle.
Breezes is the newest 9-hectare residential community nestled inside an expansive master plan development of Tierra del Sol in Tanza, Cavite. Offering around-the-clock security, a playground for the kids, and leisure hubs for your relaxation and entertainment. This residential community is located between Tanza and 13 Martires, Cavite. It's only 4.3 kilometers away from SM City 13, Tower Mall 13, and Public Market. It is accessible via Manila, via Cavitex, and upcoming developments such as Cavite-Laguna Expressway and construction of the LRT-1 extension.
This prime community offers exclusivity, a respite haven, and an all-day breeze and fresh air. This newest and gated community in the South offers you outdoor facilities such as this swimming pool for kids and adults, a basketball court, a playground, and there will be also a jogging lane around the development. For recreational activities and family gatherings, Las Brisas has its very own air-conditioned and enclosed clubhouse. Take a look. Today we'll show you a 3-bedroom unit at Las Brisas. 112 square meters gross floor area, the Lia house is ideal for early nesters, growing families, or young professionals. This home is a single attached 2-story home fitted with 2 bedrooms, master suite, balcony, carport, service area, dining, and living area. As we go in, you will notice that we have a fence here. Now, this countryside gate is for your inspiration only. For improvements such as this fence, you may visit our Facebook page, Solar Resources. And now we are here on the carport area, which you can fit your SUV or your sedan. Now, notice that it is also covered. Now, your car is protected from all types of weather. As we walk forward, you will find your lawn and your service area. Now, you can set this up as your mini garden and put an outdoor lounge or a mini playground for your kids. And in here is your service area. You also have an access door to your kitchen. Now, this extra spaces is only available for corner units only. Zelia's regular or inner units also has a carport area. open the door, you will be greeted by these living spaces. Conversations can freely flow up to the dining area and your open kitchen. Imagine having to wind down here on your living area after a long day at work, or hang out with your kids on weekend and watch your favorite series. Adjoining to this living room is designed to be your den. Now this is an extra room and you can transform it whatever you prefer. Now there's also a toilet and bath inside. Take a look. Designed to cherish every moment of your family, what's so nice about this house is its limit unnecessary boundaries like the walls to part the house. Like this open kitchen. I love cooking for my family and friends, so having an open kitchen like this gives me the freedom to innovate and renovate. And let's not forget this wall-size length mirror that does the trick. And by the way, from the kitchen area, you have an access door to your service area, so you won't have to go to your main door. Now it's time to check what's upstairs. By the way, the architectural design of this house is modern contemporary. Notice the high ceiling where you can decor your timeless chandelier pieces or lightings like this. This vertical window gives you a natural light during the day and a peaceful view of the community during the night. Also, your walls, you can transform it into your artwork or place some family portrait of your choice. Upon second floor landing, you will be greeted by this hall that leads you to the 2 bedrooms with shared toilet and bath. Now we go over with your bedroom number 1 that can be your kids' bedroom. With this window and a peaceful view of the community. And now we go over to your bedroom number 2, which is the same size with your bedroom number 1. Finally, we are now in the master's bedroom. I love that there is enough space in here where you can have your queen-size bed and install your entertainment system on the side. The balcony has this big sliding glass door for when you want to feel the breeze outside and spoil yourself with natural light and ventilation. Feel free to open this door. New living means having that extra space, and having a balcony is a luxury. For when you want to relax, you can set up an outdoor lounge and decor it with some plants for that green living experience. You may also do your yoga here, your meditation, or your workout session. There's so much you can do when you have a home like this. Over the balcony, my favorite part so far, you can bring in some plants because of the natural light that comes in. I love plants, so if I would live here, I would bring in all my plants in here to complete the suburban living experience. Solar Resources Incorporated is committed to offering you your ideal home that makes valuable investment and that great suburban experience. Retreat to this southern residence and make your move into something new. Start new living with Solar Resources.
Do you want to sell or acquire a property? Rehab and My Hometown Realty and Developer with a wide range of real estate services for individual, corporate, or business clients, from brokerage, project selling, to property management, leasing, engineering, appraisal services, documentation services. Real Estate Hub, 25 years in the real estate industry. Our chairman, Ms. Margaret Gao, a licensed real estate broker and a certified international property specialist. Our president, Dr. Mary Gaoso, a licensed broker, appraiser, and consultant, certified international property specialist. 2019 ASEAN Real Estate Network Alliance Arena top broker. Our CEO, Mr. Winston Gao, together with his wife, Claire Gao, handle international linkages. Check out our website at www.realestatehub.com.ph.
Started from building every Filipino family's dream. A home made for Filipino family. To a place and communities where we grow together, nurturing dreams and potentials.